Chapter 31-35 Planet. When Han's son and the others reached the next planet in ghost starlight, there was a mountain of dead bodies and a sea of blood. The bodies of all kinds of creatures and human elites were on this giant planet. The planet looked like it was full of holes. It almost looked like a beehive. The scarier thing about it was a giant horde of bees in the sky that looked like a cloud. They covered the sky, and they almost covered the entire planet. Many nobles were far away from this planet. They only watched it. No one dared to approach the planet. "Brother, what's going on?" Bald Guy asked someone nearby. That person should have been alone. He had an ice-cold personality. When he heard the question, he said, "This planet had countless toxic bees emerge from underground. They killed everything on the planet. Everyone thinks this planet has a land pulse that can shock the sky. After a few powerful people entered, no one has made it out alive. These toxic bees are scary." While they were talking, someone called out for Bald Guy. Hansen looked over and saw it was Bald Guy's classmates. The person who spoke was an old mister. It should have been Bald Guy's teacher, Mr. Wei. Mr. Wei was sitting atop a holy one white deer. He asked Bald Guy, "You Fei, why are you here now?" It was the same holy one white deer as the one Hansen had, but the one Mr. Wei had was better. It was stronger, and its body contained holy text. It was likely an ultimate mode. "Mister, I have made friends here, so I went with them," Bald Guy politely answered. Brother 3 sarcastically said, "Mr. Brother Xiao is famous now. He only makes friends with big characters. Did you not know that? This is Brother Xiao's good friend, loved by the Crown Prince, the one and only, Han Senator, the man who murdered the general of the royal guards." Upon hearing that, Mr. Wei frowned. Han's son was loved by the Crown Prince. Because he assassinated Steelsean, he offended all the nobles. He was the crux of the issues currently plaguing relations between the royals and nobles. Han's son was hated throughout the Qin kingdom. Mr. Wei was one of the nobles. He was born a noble and obeyed the law. He did not really like a reckless person like Han Sr. "You Fei, the land pulse that shocked the world has opened. This place is very dangerous, so I think it would be best if you followed me." Mr. Wei did not want Bald Guy to be good friends with Han's senator. He did not want to see his reputation dragged through the mud by him. Bald Guy gnashed his teeth and said, "Teacher, I made a promise to do this with my friends. I am not going to break my promise." Mr. Wei wanted to say something, but Brother 3 asked, "Master, do you not understand? Brother Xia only looks for friends in high places. He thinks we are too lowly for him." "What nonsense are you talking about?" Bald Guy was angered by the remark. Brother 3 wanted to fight back, but they suddenly heard the sound of a big dragon roaring. It was like a thunderstrike that shocked the whole sky. Everyone looked in the direction of where that dragon roar had come from. They saw a group of riders riding atop a big dragon. They were coming their way. There were 10,000 of them. They were very powerful. In between the big dragon riders, 8 powerful big dragons were pulling a stagecoach. It was beautiful. The carriage looked very elegant. It was an unusual sight. "Sky King is here," Brother 3 said. Mr. Wei looked at Bald Guy and sighed. "You Fei, be wary of the friends you make. If you do not, only harm will come to you." "Teacher, I understand, but Hansen really isn't how you think it is," Bald Guy attempted to explain. After hearing Bald Guy insist, Mr. Wei shook his head and said nothing else. He led his students toward Sky King. Ghost Starlight's planets were too dangerous. Although Mr. Wei had some power, he did not have enough power to dig up the scary land pulse. Therefore, he decided to cooperate with Sky King. Mr. Wei led everyone to the carriage. All the students bowed to Sky King. Sky King was one of the leaders with a different surname in the Qin kingdom. He was an important person among the nobles. Although Mr. Wei was famous, he would not behave superior in front of Sky King. "Greetings, mister. Come on in for a meet." Sky King's voice came from inside the carriage. Someone opened the door and invited Mr. Wei inside. Mr. Wei told his students to follow him in. He entered the carriage. The students behind the carriage were jealous. Brother 3 spoke to the brother next to him. "I wonder when I can be as cool as teacher, sitting in the same carriage with a noble king." That brother replied, "You just need to focus on learning from teacher. When you get to his level, You will be just like him one day. That will not be easy, Brother 3 said with a sigh. Land pulse skills are very hard to learn. They are not easy to master. While they were talking, they soon discovered that the team going to the planet changed direction. It was unclear where they were going. What is going on? I thought we are digging up a land pulse on the planet. Why are we changing locations? Many brothers were confused. They had met Sky King there for the sole purpose of digging up a land pulse on the Ghost Starlight planet. Although they had just arrived there, Sky King's team opted to go somewhere else. It was unknown where they were headed. Although the people did not have a clue what was happening, they did not have the guts to ask. They just followed the others with confusion. Not long later, the team went past where Han-san was. Brother 3 looked at Bald Guy cockily. He lifted his lips and looked at him with disdain. He really hated Bald Guy, but that was mainly because Bald Guy was not a noble from Jadewall City. He was the son of a city leader. He counted as a noble, but Brother 3 was a noble from Jadewall City. Bald Guy was just someone from an underdeveloped place. If it was not for his luck, he would not have become Mr. Wei's student. Brother 3 thought, what an ignorant redneck. He does not even know much. He wants to be friends with Han-san, who does not know how high the sky is. The Crown Prince is just the Crown Prince. No one knows when he will be king. Besides, the Crown Prince is immature. He might like Han-san now, but it won't be long until he is bored of him. One day, with the Crown Prince not being a king yet, Han-san will get nothing. If the Crown Prince forgets about him, he will be nothing. People like Sky King are the most important in the country. Being a Mr. under Sky King provides the most benefits. While he was thinking, the team suddenly stopped. Brother 3 and the others were confused. There was no planet or land pulse. It was unknown why the team was stopping there. While they were standing there confused, Sky King's carriage opened. This time, it was Sky King who emerged. Chapter 31-36 You are too weak. Brother 3 was confused. He did not know why Sky King had disembarked. There were no big characters around him to interact with either. Brother 3 quickly noticed that after emerging from the carriage, Sky King was walking toward Han Sr. Sky King must have recognized Han Senator. He is going to teach him a lesson. Brother 3 coldly laughed. Bald Guy wanting to be friends with Han-san is like having a death wish. While everyone was watching, Sky King walked before Han Senator. Bald Guy was not looking too good. He was a bit worried. His line of thinking was not too far off from Brother 3. He thought Sky King had come looking for some trouble with Han Senator. Li Bingyu thought the same thing too, but she was rather excited. If Sky King did something to Han-san, she could see what Han-san's power was really like. No one would have imagined that Sky King was going to walk in front of Han-san and smile. He looked like a pleasant old man. He said hello to Han-san and bowed in his arms. Little girl, do you remember me? Everyone was shocked. They did not expect Sky King to talk to the little girl in Han-san's arms. Who are you? Do I know you? Bauer's answer made Mr. Wei and his students look on strangely. Sky King's expression had yet to change. He smiled at her and asked, Little girl, have you forgot? I gave you a beautiful pendant. Ah, it is you, the very nice guy. Bauer now understood. She pulled out the sky order from out of her clothes. When everyone saw the jade pendant, they were shocked. They witnessed this happening with looks of sheer disbelief. Not even Bald Guy believed it. That was the sky order. Besides how much it cost, it represented Sky King. It was a priceless treasure. It was hard to imagine Sky King had given sky order out to others, especially a girl who was only 4 or 5 years old. What is going on? Who is this little girl? Why would Sky King give her his sky order? Is she royalty? Is she a child of some noble? Brother 3 had many questions he wished to ask. Sky King's subsequent actions made Brother 3 and the others even more confused. Sky King's face was still lit up with the brightest of smiles as he greeted Han Sr. Brother Han, I really like your daughter. I want to take her as a student. What do you think about that, Brother Han? After he said that, everyone was in shock. They only now learned that the little girl was Han-san's daughter, and Sky King wanted to take her as a student. That was way too shocking. They did not think big characters like Sky King would randomly take a student. Plus, she was Han-san's daughter. That reminded them of many more things. Does this mean Sky King is trying to be friends with Han Sun? What does that mean if he is? Does that mean Sky King is going to be friends with the Crown Prince? Everyone had these complicated thoughts running through their minds. Han Sun smiled and said, "Although I am Baoer's father, accepting a teacher is dependent on Baoer." Before Sky King said anything, Baoer rejected him and said, "I don't want to." Sky King was not mad, and he continued to smile as he replied, "Why? If you are willing to accept me as a teacher, there will be a lot of good stuff to eat and a lot of fun things to play with. There will be endless gifts for you." "You are too weak," Baoer said with honesty. Those words, in the ears of others, had them believe Baoer was ignorant. This was Sky King, who was an Annihilation God Spirit Bloodpulse inheritor. Out of all the Qin Kingdom's gods, there were only 4 Annihilation God Spirits. People were happy to admit Sky King was one of the Qin Kingdom's top 5 elites. Yet the little girl had called him weak. They thought they were ignorant people who did not know much. "I want to see what Han Sun is going to do." Brother 3 coldly laughed. Bald Guy was worried about Han Sr. He tried to remind Han Sun who he was dealing with through a glare in his eyes. He wanted to quickly go against what Baoer said. "I am sorry, but you heard it from her, mister." Han Sun finally said something, but what he said only made the faces of others look stranger. They could not understand why Han Sun was not willing to accept Sky King accepting his daughter as a student. The most surprising thing about all of this was that the father and the daughter were being treated like this by Sky King, but he was not angered. He continued to smile and said, "That is fine. If Baoer does not want to, then that is fine. Are you guys going to the B planet to dig up a land pulse? Why don't you all hop in the carriage with us? We can all go together. It will get our work done faster." "We have so many people here," Han Sun said. "Is that appropriate?" "It's fine. The more the merrier. I'd like to talk to Baoer anyway." Sky King looked like some sort of kind elder. Han Sun did not decline the offer. He led Bald Guy and the others into Sky King's carriage. Brother 3 and the others were frozen as they watched Bald Guy, Han Sun, and the others all climb into Sky King's carriage. They could not accept the fact that this was happening. Sky King was inviting Han Sun and the others inside. Even the people around Han Sun were permitted into the carriage. Not even royals received that sort of treatment. What is going on? Brother 3 gnashed his teeth. He disdainfully watched Bald Guy entering the carriage. He did not understand. It wasn't just Brother 3 who was unable to understand. Even Li Bingyu did not understand. She understood the Qin Kingdom had conflicts. Han Sun was the Crown Prince Qinbai's friend. He was technically in the Qinbai's faction. That was royalty. Sky King, however, was one of the kings with a different surname. He was considered a noble. If Sky King was willing to treat Crown Prince Qinbai like that, no one would have been surprised. But Han Sun was regarded as a pet of the Crown Prince. He was considered a traitor. Saying it straight, they compared Han Sun to the Crown Prince's dog. They could not comprehend Sky King's willingness to treat him that way. No one understood, but Sky King understood a lot. Although Baoer and Han Sun had scammed him of his items, they had technically managed to save his life. If Sky King ever had to battle Han Sun, he would be the one dying. This father and daughter are special. Sky King looked at Baoer as she held the white jade flying fish. He did not believe this was just a coincidence. Brother 3 thought it was glorious for them to be permitted to follow Sky King's carriage. Now his thoughts were on a different matter. Bald Guy was a special guest of Sky King himself. He was happily sitting inside the carriage. Because Brother 3 could only follow the carriage, he felt terrible. It was like 1,000 eyes were on him laughing. He felt grossly uncomfortable. Sky King's carriage was very beautiful and extremely comfortable. It was like a luxurious battleship with lots of space. "Master." Bald Guy saw Mr. Wei and bowed. Mr. Wei was surprised to see Bald Guy there. He then saw Han Sun and Sky King pleasantly talking and merrily smiling as they entered. His face looked even weirder. He knew Sky King went out to greet a friend, but he never expected it to be Han Senator. And it was not just Han Sun being invited inside the carriage. Even the people next to Han Sun were invited in by Sky King. Mr. Wei understood Sky King, so he was more surprised than anyone else. He knew Sky King took the carriage very seriously. Normal people were never allowed to climb on board. Even if other kings were there, they could only ride their own vehicles. Friends and family had to wait outside the carriage. Chapter 31-37 30% benefit. Mr. Wei, please explain to me the details you have about Bee Planet, Sky King said to Mr. Wei. Mr. Wei remained silent. He did not speak. Sky King understood what Mr. Wei was worried about. He said, Mister, please explain it to me. The people in this carriage are all my friends. There are no outsiders in here. After hearing Sky King say that, Mr. Wei was surprised. One would have expected Sky King and Han Sun to be rivals, due to their associations with different factions. Now, all the nobles were supposed to hate Han. Senator Sky King was the biggest noble in the Qin Kingdom, and he was saying that Han Sun was not an outsider. Mr. Wei thought it was ridiculous. Mr. Wei did not know why Sky King had to be like this. Others did not know about the power the fish in Baoer's hand possessed. Sky King knew it very well. Regarding the personalities of the father and daughter, he knew about them all too well. To prevent Han Sun from coming to mess things up while digging land pulses, they might as well have given him a cut to stop him from starting anything. Of course, Sky King was hoping to use Han Sun and the little fish's power. With the help the flying fish could provide, even they were all in danger, there was something crucial that could always turn the tides in their favor. Mr. Wei remained silent for a moment and then finally said, This planet is one of the 7 planets of Ghost Starlight. This planet is now filled with scary toxic bee gene races. There is only one possibility for why that happened. When the God Pulse was formed, this planet already had a powerful bee gene race that was at least God class. Mr. Wei, the planet's beehive is so scary. Did the Bee King swallow the God Pulse on this planet? Sky King was scared of everything. Mr. Wei shook his head. My king, you think too much. Although the beehive on this planet is huge, there is only one toxic bee. The entire bee legion you see was summoned by him. The power of that toxic bee is probably summoning those bees. After pausing, Mr. Wei said, I have been watching them for a while. Although the toxic bee legion is scary, there isn't the presence of a god spirit. I cannot tell what the toxic bee's level is, but it did not consume the god spirit blood pulse. From what I have been able to determine, this planet does not have a god spirit blood pulse. That is very good, Sky King said with a nod. If things are this way, then there is no use in delaying things further. Let's go to the planet and slay the toxic bee gene race. I do not want it to ruin the gene eggs in the land pulse. I totally agree with that. Mr. Wei agreed with Sky King's decision. Sky King did not make any orders yet. He looked at Han Sun and said, Brother Han, as for the benefits we claim from the planet, you and Mr. Wei can have 30% each. Since we will use my power and resources, I will get 40%. Sure. We'll do as you tell us, Han Sun said. Mr. Wei and Bald Guy felt weird. Mr. Wei was in charge of seeking out land pulses. He provided a lot of support, but he was only going to get 30%. Han Sun did not use power or resources, and he was still going to get 30%. That was hard for them to believe. They did not know that Sky King only wanted Han Sun and Baoer, the father and daughter duo, to not mess things up for them. He did not actually expect them to do anything. Li Bingyu thought, why does Sky King treat Han Sun like this? How did the two even meet? If they used to know each other, Han Sun's identity wouldn't be so simple. That must be right. Han Sun must be the hidden heir of some family in the Qin Kingdom. Otherwise, why would Sky King give his self-identifying Sky Order to Han Sun's daughter? It wouldn't make any real sense otherwise. Why else would he treat Han Sun so nice? Li Bingyu thought that had to be right. The big dragon space riders headed down into the planet. The toxic bee crowds were scary, but having big dragon riders ahead of them made them not as scary. The big dragons spewed fire to burn down the cloud-like assembly of toxic bees. With haste, they sped into the planet, but there were too many toxic bees. It was hard to clear them. The big dragon space riders could only clear the toxic bee legions around them. Just as Mr. Wei said, the crowds of toxic bees were not real. Once they were killed, the bodies disappeared. The vast amounts killed did not litter the planet. They were not genuine gene races. Sky King looked at Mr. Wei and asked, Mister, is there a way to find out where the real toxic bee is hiding? It is not hard, Mr. Wei said with a nod. He summoned a gene race. The gene race looked like a turtle, but its head was shaped like a snake. Many mysterious symbols were present on the turtle's back. There was a needle inside the creature too. It looked very weird. Mr. Wei bit into his finger and dropped a spot of blood onto the needle in the turtle's back. Once it came into contact with Mr. Wei's blood, the needle started to spin. When the needle stopped in a direction, Mr. Wei quickly said, "The toxic bee's real body is that way." Sky King immediately commanded his riders to go that way. But the needle on the turtle's back kept changing its orientation. They were quickly able to find out where the toxic bee was actually hiding. When the toxic bee changed direction, the needle on the turtles changed direction to follow it. After finding out where the toxic bee was, Sky King did not need to do anything. His elites were already able to slay the king-class toxic bee. Han Sun thought this was rather interesting. No matter if it was a scary summon power toxic bee or Mr. Wei's compass turtle, they all had magical powers. That was especially true of Mr. Wei's compass turtle. It was just a Duke-class mutant gene race, but without it, it would have been difficult to find the God-class toxic bee. The gene race powers really do change a lot. The level of something is not the problem. It all depends on the caster. If a gene race is used well, that is how victory can be determined. Hansen noticed a gene race's utility was not defined by its level. Of course, higher-level gene races did provide greater benefits. Compared to a gene race with a similar element, one at a higher level was still better. The toxic bee king was killed. The entire planet's toxic bee legion vanished. The big dragon space riders controlled the entire planet. Mr. Wei and his students searched the land pulse. They found the land pulse and had the big dragon riders do the digging. Han Sun and the others did not even have to lift a finger. He was just there, chilling with Sky King and idly chatting. What makes Han Sun and the others worthy of having a 30% cut? They did not do anything. Brother 3 knew about that, and it made him angry. The big brother quietly said, "Brother 3, stop talking crap." If Sky King gave him 30%, that means Han Sun was worth it. You should stop trying to provoke him. Brother 3 was not happy, but he knew he was right. His face turned green, but he no longer dared to say anything. Including Mr. Wei, everyone was busy. Only Sky King, Han Sun, and a few others were free. They gathered before a table, watching and talking. "Brother Han, are you and Bauer interested in the god fights?" "It depends. I will join if I have the time," Han Sun casually said. He sounded really chill about it, but he did not actually know what the god fights were. Thus he did not answer clearly. Chapter 3138 Snake Turtle Hide. The planet was part of Ghost Starlight. The whole planet was full of land pulses. One only needed to take 3 steps to discover another small pulse. If one took 10 steps, one could probably find a big pulse. If one used a shovel to dig a bit, one might get a gene egg. Of course, that was a bit exaggerated, but there were many land pulses and gene eggs. In a few short days, they were able to dig up 1,000 gene eggs. Although there were no God-class gene eggs, there were a lot of King-class gene eggs. On the 5th day of their dig, something happened. A big dragon space knight died. In the beginning, no one noticed it. The rider was sleeping in a tent with a few other riders. The next day, he just stopped breathing. His body was already cold when it was discovered. He had no wounds, and the other knight riders had not heard anything. They thought he must have died from a sickness of some kind. Over the next few days, one rider died during their sleep each night. They all passed away quietly without wounds. The medics examined the knights' bodies and found no problems. There was no poison in them, and their organs were fine. It was as if they had died naturally. Sky King thought someone had come to fight him for the land pulse, so he sent someone to scour the area. He also had powerful gene casters in place to defend the area. In the end, they were unable to find anything. One person was still dying daily. It was no more and no less. It worried all of the big dragon riders. None dared to sleep. They were scared that they would be the next one to die. "My king, I do not think this is about a potential enemy doing something," Mr. Wei said to Sky King. "What do you mean by that?" Sky King asked with a squint of his eyes. He looked calm, but people who knew him knew that his mood was secretly sour. The riders who mysteriously died one by one were digging in the same zone as the land pulse, Mr. Wei said. From what I can tell, they should have been affected by the same land pulse. Are you saying there is a gene race near that land pulse? Sky King asked with surprise. Mr. Wei shook his head. It might not be a gene race. Many land pulses have unlucky powers, such as an evil spirit spring weird scene. I asked, but they did not find an evil spirit spring there, Sky King answered. Mr. Wei said, an evil spirit spring is a rather obvious weird scene. There are some worse powers out there that are not as easy to trace. I want to go to that land pulse and see what happens. Sure. I will go with you. I would like to see what is causing this. Sky King spoke with a murderous look. Han Sun and the others followed as well. After all, Han Sun had taken a 30% cut, so it would not be very nice if he sat there doing nothing at all to contribute. The dead riders had dug at different locations of the land pulse, but they were always near the same river. That river was the biggest one on the planet. It was more than 10,000 miles long. It also had several branches. Other creatures on the planet had almost entirely been wiped out by the toxic bees. Some had managed to stay alive in the water. Sky King believed it must have been a gene race that survived in the water causing the problem. After investigating it, they discovered nothing. Mr. Wei brought a few students with him to follow the river. They observed the river and how it flowed. They took out something that looked like a disc to confirm their location. They eventually reached the land pulse where the knights had been digging. On the way, Mr. Wei did not have much to say. For the duration of their journey, his face looked gloomier by the minute. After he checked out a few spots on the land pulse, Mr. Wei looked at Sky King with seriousness. Mr. King, we cannot dig this land pulse within 300 miles of this river. Why is that? Sky King asked with genuine curiosity. Mr. Wei pointed at the river and said, please look over there. The river starts from a snowy highland. It should go to the sea, but halfway down this river, it goes underground. It creates an underground river. Although it still flows to the sea, in this formation, the land pulse has a name. It is called a snake-turtle hide. What is a snake-turtle hide formation? I have never heard of such a thing, Sky King asked. Mr. Wei had a wry smile. The river above the land pulse is called a dragon pulse, but dragons fly through the 9 clouds. They do not go underground. Right now, half the river is underground, and thus it is like a snake hiding in a turtle shell. That is why it is called a snake-turtle hide. What is so special about this formation? Why can't we dig here? Sky King asked. Mr. Wei replied, Mister, have you heard about snakes and turtles fighting each other? I have seen a lot, Sky King said with a nod. Mr. Wei nodded and went on to say, if snakes want to eat turtles, they have to bite their necks. When the turtle is in pain, it will bite the snake's body and retreat its head back into the shell. The snake's head will be brought in with it too. During this kind of snake and turtle fight, they will bite each other and let go until they are both dead. It ensures that if one goes down, the other goes down with it. The snake-turtle hide formation is like that. If we dig land pulses near this river, it is like we are digging the snake's body and turtle shell. The snake and turtle that killed each other might now be set free. The person who digs the snake's body and turtle shell will be in bad shape. This is an extremely bad formation. It is one of the evilest land pulses in existence. If we keep digging here, something negative will happen. Even if you do get some gene eggs out of it, it will never be worth it. The area of this river is very large, and there are many land pulses, Sky King said. If we do not dig within 300 miles of the river, we will take on at least 10% to 20% additional damage. Do you have a way to fix that? The evil pulse is here now, so there is nothing I can do, Mr. Wei said, looking rather sad. If things are indeed like that, then let's not dig up anything. Sky King understood. He ordered people to replan their excavation efforts and avoid any area that resided within 300 miles of the river. As for the river that led underground, Mr. Wei calculated where it went so they could avoid it. After that, the big dragon riders stopped having a fatality every day. No more knights died during their dig. They thought things were now okay. After a few days, lights began to glow inside the river. It was like a nightlight river. Looking out at the planet, a shiny, real dragon was lying on the ground. It looked very bright. Anyone was able to tell that this was a weird scene with a land pulse that could shock the world. It was a shame that it was within the snake-turtle hide formation. There was no way to get at it. After Sky King sent a group of knights to the river to dig up a land pulse, the riders all died within a few days. There was not a single survivor. After that, Sky King did not dare send anyone out there to dig land pulses. Every day, he watched that land pulse that shocked the sky, but he did not dig. He was very upset. Chapter 31-39 Repel Evil Rhino Hansun. And the others were incredibly free to as they wished. After Hansun heard that something weird happened there, he planned on taking Bauer there to dig. He did not believe the land pulse could harm them. If there was a god pulse that could shock the world, perhaps they could find a rare gene egg there. Hansun was lacking in those. He chatted with Sky King. When Sky King heard about his plan, he felt very happy about it. You guys go and dig. You can keep every gene egg you dig up. There is no need for you to share it with us. A few tens of thousands of miles away, half of the river was underground. The radiation's radius was wide. There were many land pulses there. There were as many as there were hairs on cows. Hansun and Bauer, the father and the daughter, prepared to go dig. There were so many land pulses that they could have probably dug there for the rest of their lives. Therefore, Sky King was not too worried about them digging up all the gene eggs. After they entered, his army would be able to go in and dig if they broke the snake-turtle hide formation. He knew how to calculate that. Even if Han was unable to break it, it did not do any harm to Sky King. He would be doing Hansun a favor, and that was cool too. Old Han, I will go with you guys, Bald Guy said while chomping his teeth. Why are you coming with us? Hansun asked. Do you have any idea how dangerous that place is? If you guys are not scared of it, then I am not scared either, Bald Guy madly said. Hansun thought. Of course we are not afraid, but you are different. Your body is too weak. If you cannot endure the snake-turtle hide, you are going to die. Hansun did want Bald Guy to go with him. Bald Guy said. If I do not go with you, will you be able to read land pulses? Do you know where and how to locate gene eggs? Do you know how to dig them up? After Hansun heard that, he was shocked. That was a big question. Even if they knew there was good stuff to be found along the river, they could not dig up every inch of it. The gene eggs were different from other things. Before they hatched, they were weak. If Hansun used too much strength while digging, the gene eggs might break with the soil he toiled. Let's go together, Li Bingyu suddenly said. I have a way to protect Bald Guy. What is your plan? Hansun and Bald Guy looked at Li Bingyu with surprise. It was a formation that not even Mr. Wei was able to break. Li Bingyu coldly said. Don't you guys look at me like that. I am sure Mr. Wei knows about this method too, but it can only make 1 or 2 people unaffected. It will not work for many people, so a large-scale digging venture is out of the question. Although just having a few people won't allow us to dig up much. What is this method? Bald Guy quickly asked. I have a gene race called a Repel Evil Rhino, Li Bingyu said. After combining with it, even if you are in danger, you will not be affected. It only works if you combine with the Repel Evil Rhino. Other people will not be protected. Bald Guy was shocked. The Repel Evil Rhino is a treasure the Mister uses to dig into land pulses. I cannot believe you have one too. But there are 4 of us. One evil Repel Rhino will not be that helpful. Li Bingyu replied. Hansun said he has his own way, and I have other gene races to use. You can use the Repel Evil Rhino. She then transferred the Repel Evil Rhino to Bald Guy. Bald Guy accepted the Repel Evil Rhino. He looked surprised. The Repel Evil Rhino is just king class, but it is extremely rare. Any mister who receives one would think of it as a most valuable treasure. My teacher has one, but not all the students do. I cannot believe I, Bald Guy, can use a Repel Evil Rhino today. I am only lending it to you temporarily, Li Bingyu coldly said. I don't need it forever, Bald Guy merrily said. Using it just once in my life is enough of a privilege. The 4 of them readied themselves and set off for the river. Old Han, is it really okay to bring Bauer? Bald Guy was worried about Bauer. Don't worry, Han Sun casually said. I have a way to keep Bauer safe, but it only works on those who share the same blood as me. Before the four of them reached the river, they saw a group of people digging up land pulses ahead of them. This is a small world. When Bald Guy saw them, he spat on the floor. The person who was commanding the people digging up a land pulse was Brother 3. Brother 3 saw them approaching. He rode a big bird over to them. He had a remarkably different attitude. From afar, Brother 3 smiled. Brother Xia, where are you and Mr. Han going? I am familiar with this place, so I can lead the way for you. Bald Guy was surprised. He had never seen Brother 3 talk to him in this way before. He then realized why Brother 3 was willing to change his attitude. Bald Guy did not expose Brother 3's thought process. He looked like he was smiling at him, but he did not smile at him. We are planning to dig up gene races near the river. Are you interested in going? When Brother 3 heard that, his face changed. He smiled. That place is too dangerous. If you want to dig up gene eggs, this area has enough land pulses as it is. Why go somewhere so dangerous? Bald Guy laughed. Digging normal land pulses does not show ourselves off as students of Mr. Wei. If you do not go there, then we will go. After that, Bald Guy summoned the Repel Evil Rhino. He rode atop the rhino, staying behind Han's senator upon seeing the Repel Evil Rhino. Brother 3's face cycled through a variety of colors. He looked super jealous. Good. That felt good. After walking far away, Bald Guy laughed loudly. Li Bingyu coldly said, by behaving like that, it is only a matter of time before someone stabs you in the back someday. Bald Guy did not care. He said, he has been stabbing me in the back enough as it is. I have been learning from teacher all these years, but he has never stopped bullying me. Now I have what it takes to fight back. We are almost there, Han Sun said to Bald Guy. Combine with the Repel Evil Rhino just in case something happens. Bald Guy selected the Repel Evil Rhino and combined with it. Bald Guy was very strong. After combining with the Repel Evil Rhino, his body was stronger. He was like a slab of meat. His nose possessed a silver rhino horn. The four of them entered the 300-mile radius of the river. No matter what a person did, experience was always necessary. Before, Bald Guy did not have land pulse experience. Although he had learned a lot, when it came to getting down to it, it never panned out too well. Now he kept digging all kinds of land pulse. He had many special land pulses. His level was certainly increasing, and his skills were certainly improving. After having a look, he discovered a land pulse near the river. Han Sun could not feel if there was anything different there. He dug up a few land pulses and found something. He obtained a dozen gene eggs. 3 of them were king class. Bald Guy suddenly pointed at Han Sun's neck and asked, "What is that on your neck?" "What?" Han Sun took out a mirror and checked himself out. He noticed his neck had a very small, black line. If he had not examined it closely, he would have thought he was wearing a black necklace. Chapter 3140 Break Head Wire. Han Sun used his hands to rub it. It was like the black line was under the skin. He was unable to rub it away. Bald Guy pointed at Bauer and screamed, "Bauer's neck has it too." Han Sun frowned. He looked at Bauer's snow-white neck and noticed there was a black line. In fact, it was not just Bauer who had it. They soon noticed that all 4 of them had somehow developed a strange black line. Li Bingyu looked terrible. If I am correct, this black line is the legendary break head wire. What is the break head wire? Han Sun and Bald Guy looked at Li Bingyu. Li Bingyu looked at Bald Guy and said, "Bald Guy, you are a student of Mr. Wei. You must have heard the legend of Qi Kingdom's Mr. Tian Kuang." She did not answer the original question. "I have. 300 years ago, the Qin Kingdom's big Mr. Tian was very famous. He dug up many god pulses that shocked the sky. He was greater than my teacher today. He is like the first Mr. of all the 7 kingdoms." Bald Guy nodded and said to Li Bingyu, "There are many legendary stories about Mr. Tian. Which one are you referring to?" "The last one," Li Bingyu said. Bald Guy was surprised. "The last one? Is that the legend about Mr. Tian bringing his students to dig a big land pulse and never returning? No one was able to learn about what happened to him. The hundreds of students he took with him vanished too. Is that the story? Yes, that one, Li Bingyu said with a nod. What is so special about it? Mr. Tian had a mysterious god pulse and summoned his students to go dig up the god pulse together. They did not return. Bald Guy looked at Li Bingyu with confusion. He was not sure why she had brought it up. Li Bingyu had a wry smile. That is just one version of the legend. I have heard another version. The legends say Mr. Tian took a few hundred students to that god pulse, and they dug there day and night. The soil became weird. It was dark red and difficult to dig into. They dug for 7 days and 7 nights. After all that time, they were only able to dig 9 feet deep. At that time they dug up something that was like a green, stone tile. Bald Guy had never heard this version of the story before. Just like Han-sun, he raised his ears to listen to Li Bingyu speak. Li Bingyu went on to say, Mr. Tian and the other students felt weird. When they dug the land pulse, it was on a lifeless planet. Why would there be a stone tile there? So they kept digging down. They soon found an old, broken building deep in the earth. The walls were all demolished. It was unknown how it had been buried underground. They excavated the entire building to get a better look. They saw a stone sign near the front door. For words were written on it, Broken Head God Temple. After hearing her tale, Bald Guy did not believe her words. God temples are undying. Even the ultimate elites of the 7 kingdoms cannot destroy a god temple. How could one end up broken and buried underground? This must be a prank. That is what Mr. Tian said. Everyone thought so too. The temple had no statue. They thought it was a god temple replica built through human hands. Plus, the location of that god pulse was below the Broken Head God Temple, so they had to remove the god temple to keep digging down. The next day, after they had removed the Broken Head God Temple, everyone's neck had a small, black line. When Li Bingyu said that, her voice started to change. Bald Guy felt a chill run down his spine. He reached his hand up to stroke his neck. Li Bingyu went on to say, that black line did not hurt or itch. There was nothing inherently weird about it. Mr. Tian did not know what happened. He thought of many ways to try to remove it, but he could not find any success. Scary things started to happen the next day. While they were asleep, a few of the students had their heads chopped off. The black line defined the precise point they were decapitated. After that, if anyone fell asleep, their heads were mysteriously cut off. Mr. Tian made students watch other students sleep. The students did not dare sleep, but humans are humans, and humans have to sleep eventually. No matter how strong they are, it's a need. In the end, they could not help but fall asleep. The students were said to have seen a very strange scene. When a student fell asleep, the black line fell off. It was like someone had used an axe to cut it. Blood went everywhere, but the students who watched this did not see anything. Mr. Tian used every method he could to stop it. He was unable to find out what caused the black line to manifest. In the end, he had to let one of the students who could not stay awake fall asleep. He then scraped away the skin so he'd lose the skin but survive. Who would have been able to know that the black line did not actually exist on their skin? It was deep inside the flesh and bones. To skin the skin was entirely useless. Eventually, the student's head was chopped off while he slept. If things are like that, anyone who falls asleep will lose their head and die. They were able to avoid sleep for 10 days or half a month. Some even lasted 1 or 2 months, but humans cannot avoid sleep forever. Like the others, as soon as they fell asleep, death came. In the end, Mr. Tian and his students fell to the same fate. They all died through decapitation. The black lines on their neck were given the title Breakhead Wire. After hearing all of that, Bald Guy felt a chill. He forced a smile and said, that is just a legend. If Mr. Tian and the others were all killed, then how was their story about the broken head wire preserved? Who lived to tell the tale? Plus, we did not find the broken head temple. The black lines on our necks cannot be the breakhead wire. I hope that is the case, but this is too similar to the legend of the breakhead wire, Li Bingyu seriously said. She was obviously not meaning any of this as a joke. Han-sun frowned and said, the riders that died before did not have their heads cut off, and their necks did not bear black lines. Yeah, and we didn't unearth a god temple, Bald Guy said with a trembling voice. We did not break a god temple either, so how could we have possibly provoked Breakhead God? His hands kept rubbing the black line on his neck, unable to erase the mark. Hansen did not believe in karma regarding things like that. It was obvious that some power was around. It was just very weird the power could make them develop a black line. Li Bingyu sighed. Even if it is not the Breakhead wire, it will still be big trouble for us. If it wasn't, Bald Guy's repel evil rhino should have worked. It doesn't matter, Bald Guy said while gulping his saliva. We should think about going back first. I will allow my teacher to examine it. He is old, so perhaps he knows what the black line is. While he was talking, Bald Guy suddenly screamed. He held his neck as the black line on his neck started to bleed. Bald Guy clutched his burning neck, and he screamed with fear. Holy shit! I thought a beheading only comes while you are asleep. Chapter 3141 Breakhead God Temple. Bald Guy's neck black was becoming redder and redder. It was like there was blood soaking through it. It was a very bloody and scary sight. It looked as if it was tightening and going to crack his neck. Although Bald Guy had combined with the repel evil rhino, it did not seem to work. It could not stop the blood coming through. Is that really a god spirit power? Han-sun asked with a frown. The repel evil rhino was able to repel evil. It could reduce the effectiveness of evil. Ordinary gene races could not accomplish something like this. If it was a god spirit power, it might work. The repel evil rhino only repelled evil. It could not repel gods. During their entire journey, they had dug up many land pulses, and not seen a single god spirit. They hadn't discovered a god temple either. The skin on Bald Guy's neck was becoming tighter. It would not last long. In the next second, it looked as if his head was going to be severed. The blood dyed his neck and his hands red. It looked like he was in pain. Li Bingyu used a few gene combination skills, but nothing seemed to work on the Breakhead wire. Han-sun frowned. He summoned the blood ghost spirit and combined with it. He placed his hand on Bald Guy's neck, and let the ghost blood spirit power go into Breakhead wire to try to stop its power from working. It was a futile effort. The power of the blood ghost spirit was unable to prevent the Breakhead wire from digging into Bald Guy's throat. At the same time, Li Bingyu's Breakhead wire started to bleed. Li Bingyu's face looked green. She immediately summoned a few gene races to suppress the scary power that sought to decapitate her, but nothing she tried worked. Old Han, I am not going to make it. If you don't die, go to Bamboo City and tell my father I will be his son in the next life too. Tell him to find a woman and make another baby, so I can be reborn with him again. Bald Guy clutched his neck. He was in great pain as he cried that out. He sounded as if someone was squeezing his neck and could not breathe. With me here, nothing is going to take your life. Han-sen's eyes flashed with a godly light. He cast the power of the Xian Yellow Sutra onto Bald Guy's neck. It was strange. The Xian Yellow Sutra's power touched Bald Guy's neck and worked like an eraser. It erased some of the black lines on Bald Guy's neck. Han-sun saw it worked, so he went around the entire length of the black line, until the Breakhead wire on Bald Guy's neck was wholly erased. Eventually, no trace of it remained. Han-sun thought that if the Xian Yellow Sutra did not work, he would break the rules of the world and see who was doing this to them. If the Xian Yellow Sutra worked, there was no need for him to go through such trouble. The black line around Bald Guy's neck was gone. He felt immeasurable relief. He was like someone who had just been spared a hanging. He sat on the ground and gasped. The Breakhead wire around Li Bingyu's neck bled. She revealed her identity by making use of a few of the Wu Wei Dao Palace's secret skills. None of those worked either. The Breakhead wire was like a seamless blade. It tightened around her neck. The blood on her snow-white neck was getting thicker. It made her feel depressed. Han-sun ran in front of her and placed his hands on her neck. Li Bingyu immediately felt much better. Han-sun glided his hands around her neck until Li Bingyu was completely freed. She did not suffer as much as Bald Guy had, but she still felt as if she had escaped death. She looked at Han Senator. A power that the Wu Wei Dao Palace's skills could not erase was easily brushed away by Han Senator. The power he had unnerved her. Li Bingyu and Han-sun had been together for a long time. She thought this person was very mysterious. She could never treat or think about him as an ordinary person. The black line around Bauer's neck didn't do anything, but Han Sen still wiped it away. He only let his neck keep the black line around it. He knew the breakhead wire was a mark or a marking. The breakhead wire itself did not have a powerful power, but the frightening power that decapitated came from elsewhere used the black line like a conduit. He left the breakhead wire on him to see if it was possible to trace where the severing power came from. After a while, Han Sen felt as if his neck was getting tighter. It felt as if there was a very strong, thin wire being used to strangle him. It got tighter until it eventually felt like it was going to break his neck. Han Sen touched his neck, but he could not feel any wire. He could only feel his skin tightened where the breakhead wire was. "Old Han, what are you doing? Why don't you erase the breakhead wire around your neck?" Bald Guy asked. "No matter who it is, if he tries to harm me, I will make him pay," Han Sen coldly said. He did not want to erase the breakhead wire. The breakhead wire released a scary power. With Han Sen's fitness level, the power was unable to do anything to harm him. Even though the scary power kept increasing, it never reached the point of drawing blood from Han Sen's neck. The black line just tightened his neck a bit. It was like an invisible wire being used to strangle him. Time passed. Han Sen continued to fight the breakhead wire. Bald Guy was nervous watching him, but Han Sen's neck had yet to bleed. The water in the river was starting to show signs of unrest. It was moving a lot more. In the end, a giant wave formed in the wide river. The wave was crazier than the waves at the sea. Li Bingyu and Bald Guy glumly looked at the river. They sensed a scary presence spread across the river. It appeared to them as if something was getting ready to emerge. Voila! A green, stone tile came out of the water. It revealed its back. It was a roof composed of green tiles. A broken temple appeared in the river. Bald Guy looked at the old temple's door frame. He saw a plaque and screamed, "Breakhead God Temple." It really is Breakhead God Temple. It's the Breakhead God Temple that killed Mr. Tian and all his students back in the day. It is here. The God Temple was very old and broken. If ordinary people saw it, they would have thought it was a broken temple. With Han Sen's Peacock King eyes, he knew the God Temple had purple-black flames rising. It was like it was covered in demonic power. Han Sen clearly felt that a scary creature was inside the God Temple looking at him, but the creature's presence was strange. Han Sen could not determine if it was a god spirit or a Jin race. After the God Temple completely emerged from the water, Han Sen and the others were able to see what was inside it. Half of the old temple's door was closed, and half of it was open. Han Sen peered inside the God Temple and saw a god altar. The God Temple did not have a god statue. Instead, there was a very bloody guillotine. Chapter 3142 Weird Temple. The guillotine was an execution device used for carrying out death sentences. In ancient times, some countries used the guillotine to legally execute people. A famous queen was once brought to the guillotine after being sentenced to death. The guillotine looked like a door frame. It had a platform at the bottom and a blade above that looked like a gate. When the blade was brought up to the highest point, the prisoner's head was placed on the platform below. Afterward, the rope holding the blade up was cut. The small gate-like, heavy blade then dropped. No matter how strong someone's neck was, it was still severed. The guillotine was 12 feet high. The frame was made of old, bronze-looking wood. The platform and blade were composed of black metal. The frame looked very bloody. No one knew how much blood had been spilled, or how many heads had rolled beneath that frightening machine. The entire guillotine was full of a devilish, scary presence. It was like countless angry spirits were there crying out in pain. Before they walked close to the God Temple, they already felt countless demons pulling them closer to the guillotine. Han Sen examined the guillotine. He noticed Bald Guy walking straight toward the guillotine inside the God Temple. He looked like a doll with no soul. Even the way he walked was mechanical. "Bald Guy!" Han Sen roared. The bald man, who was near the river, woke up. Bald Guy noticed he was standing in the river. The water was above his legs. In shock, he ran back. "This thing is so evil," Bald Guy said with shock. "As I looked at the guillotine, I felt as if I want to put my head there. It's making me confused." "It's okay. I am going to have a look at what it is." After Han Sen said that, he walked toward the God Temple. He sensed that the god temple and guillotine were very weird. This was not like an ordinary god spirit. Han Sun had entered many god temples and met many god spirits, but people like Evil Lotus God, Qin Jun, or even the person in the Geno Hall had given Han Sun the feeling of being restricted and bound. No matter how powerful they did things with order. This breakhead god, however, made Han Sun feel that the god spirit very overbearing and extremely evil through and through. It was unlike an ordinary god spirit. Bauer sat on Han Sun's shoulders. She held the little flying fish. Her small face looked glum. When Han Sun stepped into the ancient temple, he saw something behind the decapitation platform. The blade that connected to the guillotine had a rope in the back. That rope was not tied to anything. It was as if it was being held by a hand. The hand was not a human hand. It belonged to a doll. It was an old doll that looked like a woman wearing pretty noble clothing and a crown. Because the doll was so old, it had lost most of its color. It had touched a lot of dirty blood and looked very old and weird. Han Sun observed the doll. The doll's eyes, which previously had been shut, were now open. Its blood-red eyes peered down on Han Senator. The mouth, which could move, let out a strange laugh. "You are here. I have waited for you for a long time." The voice was ghostly. The voice made people's teeth sore. It sounded like a voice that came from the depths of hell. "Do you know me?" Han Sun asked the wooden doll. The real god spirits must have recognized him. This god temple was very strange. It made Han Sun wonder if it was a real god temple or not. "Of course I know. I have been waiting for you for a million years. You have finally arrived. Come to me. Be a god like me forever. Let's not spend time apart again." The doll let out a shrill laugh. As its vocal cords were still rattling out a laugh, the doll's body moved. It pulled a black rope that was soaked in blood. The blade was pulled up. When the blade went up, the entire guillotine's purple and black flames exploded. It was like there were tens of thousands of evil spirits crying and roaring. The entirety of the Breakhead God Temple was surrounded by scary, black and purple flames. When the blade went higher, the scary purple and black flames blazed stronger. When the purple and black flames rose, it was like countless evil spirits came roaring and jumping toward Han Sr., a sky full of flying feathers. Han Sen's body exploded with gold light. The peacock feathers formed a gold ring. A sky full of feathers fired at the evil spirit like a hail of arrows. In the next second, Han Sen shockingly discovered that the sky full of flying feathers was unable to damage the evil spirit. It pierced through the body. The peacock feathers were like a storm that struck the pedestal. The scene broke into a shower of godly light, but his power was unable to move the guillotine at all. It is pointless. I am God. No matter how powerful ordinary people are, they cannot fight against a god. Normal people are just a pathetic joke. Obey me, and you can achieve godly powers. You can become immortal like me. You can look down on everything in this world. The doll sounded a bit crazed. The voice echoed throughout the temple. The heavy blade squeaked with horrible, metal scraping sounds. It amplified the sense that everything inside that tomb was evil and scary. Han Sen frowned. The gold-winged peacock king powers he wielded did not seem to deal the slightest amount of damage to the guillotine. While that was very concerning, it did help to dispel all doubt and prove one thing. It meant that the old temple they had discovered was nothing man-made. It was a real god temple. If it was a real god temple, it meant the guillotine and doll inside were real god spirits. When Han Sen was in the Geno universe, he had seen this sort of thing quite often. The power of ordinary people did not work on god spirits. To hurt a god, a person needed a special sort of power. If it was not for Qin Xiu or World King God breaking the space barrier and making the Geno Hall reveal itself, fewer people could have hurt a god spirit. The universe of kingdoms was the same way. Even a god-class mutant gold-winged peacock king was unable to hurt the guillotine and doll. Han Sen was not sure which power was required to damage them. While he was thinking, the purple and black flames landed on him. It was like he was being pulled by countless evil spirits. Han Sen was unable to control his body. He found himself compulsively walking toward the guillotine. Come over here. Remove that head of yours. Lay it down and become a god alongside me. Become a being that transcends the trappings of mortality. Join me and become immortal. The doll kept pulling the rope while screaming and laughing. Han Sen cast the Xian Yellow Sutra to fight the evil spirit. Although he immediately extinguished the evil spirit, more evil spirits were coming. It was like they were endless. Even Bald Guy and Li Bingyu, who were standing far away from the river, were affected. Li Bingyu was able to resist a small amount, but Bald Guy was already in a complete daze. He walked straight to the old temple. Han Sen was ready to break the restrictions of the world. He wanted to use his powers to break the guillotine, but he suddenly saw the small flying fish in Baoer's arm react. It was spitting out a swathe of white fire. Chapter 3143 God Chaos Party. When the white flame touched the evil, black, and purple spirit, it was like it had met gasoline. The entire God Temple lit up in a fire. The power possessing Han Sen and Bald Guy vanished. They regained control of their bodies. When he saw the little flying fish spit out a fire to battle the guillotine, Bald Guy's mouth opened wide. He was so shocked that he could not close his mouth. The scary fire was able to do battle with a God spirit, and it showed no sign of being at a disadvantage. The whole God Temple was bathed in fire. Only the God Altar, which had the guillotine, was not burning. The guillotine released black and purple flames and evil spirits. The flying fish suppressed the flames that came out of it. Bald Guy thought about the time he had talked about skinning the flying fish, and all the other stuff he had said to it. He now felt very happy. He was glad that he hadn't acted on his desires. Li Bingyu was flabbergasted. She had already thought that the small flying fish was weird. She knew it was not a low-level gene race, but she did not expect it to be that scary. It was effectively combating the powers of a God spirit. Vei gene race with that power suggested only one possibility. It proved that it must have absorbed a God spirit blood pulse before. It had already become a God spirit gene race. Han Sen was a bit surprised too. It looked like gene races that absorbed God spirit blood pulses could fight God spirits. In the future, he only needed to use Caste God Court to evolve a God spirit gene race. Then he did not have to break the rules of the world to fight a God spirit. Now Han Sen hoped the blood dragon would evolve faster, so it could absorb the God dragon blood pulse faster. He did not know how strong the blood God dragon would become after that. How is it possible for such a powerful God spirit gene race to obey a human? The doll looked at the flying fish with shock. Han Sen was shocked as well. Han Sen looked at the doll and coldly asked, "Now can you tell me where you are from?" The doll was speechless. It could not have been any ordinary God spirit. The doll suddenly laughed and said, "You are cocky far too soon. Your God spirit gene race is strong, but if I am not mistaken, it is a rare gene race that absorbed an annihilation God spirit blood pulse. It is one of the strongest in the universe, but it is a shame." Han Sen's face didn't change as he asked, "What is a shame?" The doll replied, "It is a shame that it does not have a God temple for support. It is just a wild god that is down upon the table." The doll grabbed the rope and pulled the heavy blade to the highest point, which made the cord straight. Suddenly, the entire guillotine released extremely scary purple and black flames. It was like a volcano erupting. It fought the small flying fish's flames. In the next second, the doll let go of the rope and let it fall. The heavy blade went down like it was insane. It snapped itself into the guillotine very hard. Boom! The guillotine exploded. It was like hell cutting open a door. Countless scary spirits emerged. It was very scary. The purple and black flames incinerated everything. The small, flying fish was in front of Han Senator. Its body was puffed up like a circular ball. It spewed white fire and fought the scary power that the guillotine had produced. The flying fish's mouth was full of blood. It was injured and fell back. Baoer picked up the injured little flying fish. Her angry eyes looked murderous. This was a rare feeling for her to express. The doll laughed as if it was insane. "I told you. No matter how powerful it may be, it is just a wild god on the table. Compared to a real god like me, there is a gulf in power that cannot be closed." Amid the doll's very sharp laughing voice, the self-destructive guillotine reformed on the god altar. It looked just like the old guillotine. The powerful presence did not change. The guillotine's power was as strong as the small flying fish. It might have even been weaker than the small flying fish, but it had the protection of a god temple. It was able to keep rebuilding itself atop the god altar. The guillotine was able to keep burning the small flying fish. It could have been blown up 100 times and still kill again. The little flying fish was not able to be reborn in the same fashion. Han Sen looked murderous too. He coldly glared at the doll and said, "You are using the immortal power the god temple gave you." "So what? That is the power of a god. That establishes the difference between a god and a commoner." The doll continued pulling the rope. It again pulled up the blade of the guillotine. It greedily looked at the small flying fish. "This is a god spirit gene race. If I can absorb it and use it, I can push myself to be a superior reboot class being. God must have given me this chance today." Li Bingyu suddenly screamed with shock. "Han Sen, fall back. I know what this is. It is not a god spirit. It is a member of the God Chaos Party." The doll laughed harder. "I did not expect humans to still remember the God Chaos Party. This is becoming rather interesting." "What is the God Chaos Party?" Han Sen asked with a frown. Li Bingyu's voice trembled as she said, "It is an organization of special creatures. In the God Chaos Party, every creature can fight god spirits. They are not god spirits themselves, but they have the power to make god spirits feel fear. In ancient times, the God Chaos Party was known throughout the universe. It made a sky full of god spirits descend. The universe was almost destroyed." The doll laughed weirdly and interrupted Li Bingyu. "You know nothing. The god spirits are where the evil comes from. The world is supposed to be lawless. God spirits enforce laws and control the universe. That is an insult to the universe. We just want the universe to be how it should be." "Does that mean you are not a god spirit?" Han Sen now understood. He knew why the guillotine and doll did not carry the same presence as a god spirit. "No, I am a god spirit, but I am a real god spirit. I am not like those rubbish god spirits." The doll suddenly stopped laughing and looked serious. "Allow me to introduce myself. My god name is Decapitation Queen. I control the universe and death penalties. I am the god of death sentences." "What a shame," Decapitation Queen said. "The small flying fish would have fit in well with the God Chaos Party and become a real god, but it is now fighting me. That means you will all have to die." She pulled the cord and lifted the blade to its highest point. Boom! The heavy blade descended. The guillotine released scary purple and black flames. Countless evil spirits burst out like it was the end of the world. "It has been so long since I killed a god spirit." Han Sen faced that tsunami-like, scary purple and black flames. His body did not turn black. His body started to turn white. Suddenly his entire body looked white. Long hair was draped down to his ankles, and his eyes had turned white. Chapter 3144 Annihilation God Base Super God Spirit Mode was activated. A scary power suddenly tore through the rules of the world. It made Han Sen feel like a god as he glowed with a white flame. How is that possible? Is that presence? Decapitation Queen's face froze in shock. Han Sen had no time to listen to her gibberish. He was able to break the rules of the world, but his time was limited while doing that. If it was not for this being a critical moment, he would not have used that power. If he had already followed through with the rule breaking, he knew he had to end the fight as soon as possible. Otherwise his power would be exhausted. Encountering an enemy in that state could have spelled his doom. Han Sen's body went through the guillotine's self-exploding scary power. He didn't incur any explosive damage. It was like the purple and black flames and evil spirits were nothing to him. Suddenly, Han Sen was in front of the doll. He put his hand on the doll's head. Pang! Han Sen slapped the doll's head. The head turned into dust along with the rest of its body. The power of his super god spirit mode was obscenely powerful. Even an annihilation god spirit had no hope of surviving its wrath. It was completely obliterated. Li Bingyu and Bald Guy witnessed the guillotine's self-exploding explosion mixed in with the glow of Han Sen's light. He ignored the scary powers that challenged him and slapped the doll, which broke it. Although Li Bingyu thought highly of Han Sen, she never thought Han Sen was able to kill a member of the God Chaos Party. Although members of the God Chaos Party were not god spirits, they were actually scarier than god spirits. They wielded the powers of god spirits and were like god spirits in the way they could infinitely respawn. Yet, they were not like God spirits in that they didn't play by the rules. Something scary like that had been blown up by Han Sun with just one hand. How terrifying was that? Li Bingyu thought. It looks like he must have an annihilation God spirit blood pulse. If he didn't, there is no way he could have killed the Decapitation Queen. The destroyed Decapitation Queen and guillotine did not disappear. They gathered up on the God altar and returned to life. That is a strong power. It looks like you have an annihilation God spirit blood pulse. It is a shame that no matter how strong you are, it won't work on me. I am going to eat you and that small flying fish for dinner to level up to that highest reboot class. Decapitation Queen screamed and laughed weirdly before using her strength to lift the blade. Han Sun frowned. He fell back and exited the God Temple. Are you running now? Don't you think it is too late? Decapitation Queen coldly laughed. Her body blazed with purple fire. Han Sun did not run far. He stood in front of the God Temple. He looked at Decapitation Queen and replied, "Who said I was running? If this God Temple gives you immortality, I will destroy the temple to stop that." Decapitation Queen looked as if she had just heard a joke. Her doll-like jaw kept shaking. Ha, ha. You want to destroy the God Temple? Did you know that God Temples are indestructible? It is an annihilation class God Temple. Even if a reboot God Spirit came, it would not be able to destroy this place. Really? Han Sun did not have time to talk to her. He exploded with his Super God Spirit mode. At the same time, he cast the strongest skill of the Dongxian Sutra. It was called Super Spank. Han Sun slapped the sides of the God Temple. The entire God Temple seemed to shiver and shake because of it. By the time Decapitation Queen realized that, Han Sun was back on the God Temple's stone steps. Doesn't it work? Bald Guy sighed. He had never heard of anyone being able to destroy a God Temple. Decapitation Queen noticed her God Temple was in tip-top condition. The door had not been damaged. She laughed even harder. Crazy and ignorant fool. You cannot. The God Temple. Xie Pang. The entire God Temple shattered. It was like it was split up and forced to become a point of light. The God pillars broke, and the God altar crumbled. The guillotine was wrecked. The entire God Temple was dissolving. Decapitation Queen was scared as she screamed. No. Impossible. I am an immortal God. Spirit. Before she could finish, her body fizzled away. In the blink of an eye, the God Temple was destroyed. It was suddenly rendered into nothing. Ding. There was a crunching sound. Something had made itself known in the broken God Temple. Han Sun's power was unable to destroy it, so it fell into the lake. Killed God Spirit Gene Race. Decapitation Queen. Found an annihilation class God base. Han Sun reached out his hand to pick up the item that had fallen from the destroyed God Temple. It was a cube made of wood. It was like a Rubik's Cube, but it could not be spun around. It looked very old. It had some weird, old symbols on it. One side displayed a carving of the guillotine and Decapitation Queen. Li Bingyu and Bald Guy looked at Han Sun standing on the lake. They were in awe. They could not get their minds straight. Han Sun had just managed to destroy a God Temple. Not only was that unbelievable, but it also made their minds blank and unable to focus. In that universe of kingdoms and the hearts of humans, the God spirits were supreme. A God Temple was what stood for a god. They had never heard of a human being able to destroy a God Temple before. Even in mythology, humans were only able to replace a God spirit's spot and guard the God Temple by becoming a God spirit themselves. They had never heard of a God Temple being destroyed. Now, it was something that had happened right in front of them. Li Bingyu felt a chill run down her spine. She wanted to use Han Sun to get close to Crown Prince Qinbai and destroy the last of the Qin Kingdom's royal bloodline. Now she had found out the person she had been following around was far scarier than the Qin Kingdom's king. He had the potential to change the entire universe. After Han Sun destroyed the God Temple, he put away his power. He felt very tired. He felt as if he might pass out. Breaking the world's rules cost too much power. Now, Han Sun was unable to do battle against another God Spirit or God Spirit gene race. Han Sun's thoughts roamed. Suddenly, the space around the area moved. The presence of a scary God Spirit was fast approaching. Han Sun had a wry smile as he said, "The good hasn't come. Only the bad has. I hope this is not decapitation, Queen's friend. The scary power was not just something a god spirit could have. With Han Sen's body being what it was, he could not fight as he had earlier. Bald Guy's reactions were a bit slow. He did not notice anything, but Li Bingyu could already tell the atmosphere was shifting. Her face morphed along with it. Boom. Boom. The space around them shook. A god temple burst into formation as it descended. The god temple's atmosphere was scary, and its power was almighty. This was not an ordinary god temple. It was likely an Annihilation-class god temple. Li Bingyu was shocked. While she had seen 12 Annihilation-class god temples before, she had never seen this one. It meant this god temple might have been one owned by the god Chaos Party. Chapter 31:45 God of Wealth descends. When the god temple revealed itself, Han Sen was a little afraid. This god temple was too familiar. It was the god of Wealth temple. He had used the Sky God crown to enter it. When he went to the universe of kingdoms, the Sky God crown could not be used. Han Sen never entered the god of Wealth temple again, and he had no clue where it might have been. Now the god of Wealth temple was revealing itself. Han Sen thought it was weird. He did not know if the god of Wealth temple was occupied by a new god spirit or not. When the god of Wealth temple showed up, Han Sen felt the Sky God crown shake. It seemed to have been summoned by the god temple. The Sky God crown, which had no prior reaction, was now reacting. This delighted Han Senator. He stepped toward the god of Wealth temple. Li Bingyu and Bald Guy were shocked. They thought Han Sen was addicted to destroying god temples, and was also going to destroy the god of Wealth temple. The god temple was surrounded by mist. Han Sen entered the temple. The door closed behind him. It's you. Han Sen looked at the god altar in the center. He saw the man who frequently called himself God there. He was sitting atop the god altar with a cup of wine in his hands. He kept drinking and smiling at him. Long time no see. You have been doing well recently. God put down the wine cup and smiled at Han Sr. I am doing okay. Han Sen knew this wasn't just a social call. God sighed. You are doing well, but I am not doing well. That is because I have to keep wiping your ass. Don't you think this is getting rather depressing? But I didn't stir up anything. Han Sen put out his hands and denied it. Although he was a supreme god spirit, somehow, he was a very chill person whenever Han Sen spent time with him. God couldn't be bothered arguing. He asked, do you think all of this is fine? You keep breaking the rules of the world. If you were anyone else, a sky full of god spirits would have crushed you. Do you think you've been safe from any god spirits coming for you through dumb luck? Do you think the god spirits are scared of you or something? Did you help me? Han Sen wasn't sure what to think. He was strong, but the rules of the world suppressed him too much. He was able to deal with 1 or 2 annihilation god spirits, but his body would have been unable to deal with any more than that. In this world, the power he used was difficult to replenish. That was why he could not fight very often. God did not answer him. He asked Han Sen, do you know why the god spirits have destroyed, disaster, annihilation, and reboot classes? Do you know why they have these 4 classes? I don't know, Han Sen said. He shook his head in honesty. When god spirits descend, they unleash a lot of destructive powers, God said. From creating unnatural disasters and those that seem natural, they might want to punish you or others that seek to break the rules of the world. Only by doing that can the universe be kept safe and not be destroyed. Will the universe really stop running because someone can destroy it? Han Sen recalled Night God No Moon talking about the universe being a perpetual motion machine. He had been wondering about that ever since. Of course, every substance has life. It can either be short or long. The universe is the same. Even though the universe is running normally now, it is only a matter of time before it is brought to ruin. People like you keep trying to destroy it. Sooner or later, it will at least accelerate its decay. God looked at Han Sen and went on to say, if you keep doing this, I will have to get rid of you. That way, the universe can keep running normally. Han Sen developed a wry smile. I did not want to do this, but I can't lay down and die the next time I encounter grave danger. Is that what you expect me to do? That is the whole reason I got you the God of Wealth temple. God said with seriousness. In the future, you can use the God of Wealth Temple's power. Just don't break the laws of the universe again. If you do it again, we cannot be friends anymore, and I will be forced to kick you into hell. I cannot beat the God Chaos Party members with just the God of Wealth Temple's power, Han-sun said to God, hoping it might be one avenue to retrieve answers from. God did not say anything. He looked at Han-sun for a while. Han-sun felt uncomfortable being stared at like that. God asked, "Can you become a dog and bite a dog back if a dog bites you?" "If it dared to bite me, I would not be opposed to turning into a dog to bite it back," Han-sun answered. God was speechless. After a while he said, "I do not care what you think. You are not allowed to break the rules again, got it? I am giving you the God of Wealth Temple. You can use the God of Wealth Temple and gene races to fight. If you use them well enough, even a member of the God Chaos Party will be unable to rival you. And let me give you a friendly reminder," God said. "Killing the members of the God Chaos Party will nab you some very decent benefits. The gene race power will help you a lot." He did not wait for Han-sun to answer him. He turned around and vanished. He obviously didn't want to connect with Han Sr. Remember, do not break the rules of the universe. If the universe is getting destroyed, perhaps you can live, but your friends and family will never survive. God's voice was very unstable. It kept echoing through the halls of the God of Wealth Temple. "Hey, can I use the God of Wealth Temple to return to the Geno universe?" Han-sun asked. He didn't receive an answer. He did not know if God had left or if God simply didn't want to answer. Han-sun shouted a few times, but no one answered. Eventually he gave up. He summoned the Sky God Crown. This time, the Sky God Crown answered his summons. It appeared on his forehead. Han-sun suddenly felt some weird connection with the God of Wealth Temple. He turned into a real God of Wealth. The weird messages in Han-sun's head helped him understand what he hadn't before. Of course, the messages were from the God Temple. The most direct message was about blood pulses. Han-sun knew the rules about them, such as how God spirits gave them to humans. It was quite restricted. If a random human was given any blood pulse, it would be pointless for the God spirits. It might have even harmed them. Han-sun had seen that. He had forced the Feather Fairy to give Mr. Yang a God spirit blood pulse. It was very awkward for the Feather Fairy. If he was not careful, the Feather Fairy might have been harmed because after giving Mr. Yang a blood pulse, giving humans a blood pulse was good for God spirits, but the humans who received a God spirit blood pulse needed to use their God spirit blood pulse to develop. The stronger the human was, the greater the benefits a God spirit could receive. It made the God spirit stronger. If a human with the God spirit blood pulse died, the God spirit was also damaged. Selecting a good human to give a blood pulse to was a very serious proposition for a God spirit. That was especially true when it came to inherited God blood nobles. It might have far-reaching consequences that plagued the rest of their life. To summarize, they had to pick humans with talent and potential if they wanted to give out a God spirit blood pulse, if they wanted to earn things and not lose things. Chapter 3146 God of Wealth Temple Picking the right human to give a blood pulse to was like venture capitalizing. It depended on whether or not one had good eyesight. One also needed variety. If one or two humans were able to develop quite well in the future, benefits could be reaped. It was a shame the God of Wealth Temple was there. Not many humans were able to go there. The places Han-sun could select were minimal, which made him feel quite depressed. For things like God temples, once one was established in a place, it could no longer be moved. An example was Feather Fairy's God Temple. Almost no humans traveled there, but Feather Fairy had to stay where he was. He was unable to relocate his temple, so he had to make do with where it was. Han-sun did not know how Mr. God moved the God of Wealth Temple there, but he knew he could not move it. Han-sun discovered something interesting from the information he had just learned. In one God Temple, it was not just one spirit that could be there. The God Temple did not determine the number of God spirits allowed. It was the God base in a God Temple. Because a default God Temple only had one God base, it could only allow one God spirit. If there were more God bases, a God Temple could harbor more God spirits. The higher the level the god temples were, the more god spirits that it could have. A destroyed god temple could only have one main god and 2 sub-gods. A disaster god temple allowed for 1 main god and 4 sub-gods. An annihilation god temple could have 1 main god and 8 sub-gods. Every god temple could only have 1 main god, which meant that all the sub-gods had to adhere to the will of the main god. To get sub-gods, the main god had to acquire god bases. Thus, not many god temples had sub-gods. Ordinary sub-gods were usually wild gods. By having more sub-gods, the god temple had more godly authority. For example, Han Sen's god of wealth temple, which he had authored Wealth, was able to enlist a fire sub-god. The god temple could then be authored Fire. The sub-god could also protect the god temple, so it was not affected by the powers of the outside world. Even if Han Sen was not in the temple, he did not have to fear the god temple being brought down. Han Sen tried bringing out Decapitation Queen's god base and putting it down in his god of wealth temple. The god base flew to the side of the hall. It formed a new god altar in its corner. At the same time, Han Sen felt weird power come from the sky god crown. It made the sky god crown much stronger. The guillotine and Decapitation Queen were next to the god altar. Seeing Han Sen come before her, Decapitation Queen kneeled before him. Small god greeting the Mr. Decapitation Queen said. This was the god base, so she had no memory of her past life as Decapitation Queen. She also didn't seem to have a will of her own. Like Han Yufei had described, this was a new spirit. The appearance and power were the same as the old Decapitation Queen, but it was a brand new life form. Han Sen looked at Decapitation Queen and immediately checked out her information. Decapitation Queen. Annihilation God Spirit, God of Wealth Temple Sub-God, God Authority, Death Sentence God Power. Guillotine. Han Sen told Decapitation Queen to massage his back. Decapitation Queen did not resist. She was like a slave and willing to do everything he wanted her to do. One thing Han Sen did not like was that the God Temple did not provide him access to the Geno universe. It was like Qin Jun or Sky God. The God spirits of God temples could enter the Geno universe for a set amount of time, and there were many restrictions. It was the same for Han Sen entering the Geno universe as God of Wealth. He could not hurt any creature, and he needed to keep the Geno universe as it was. Even if he destroyed a stone or a piece of wood, he was punished. In fact, even if God spirits wanted to hurt the Geno universe, it was impossible for them to do so. The power of God spirits was restricted there. Unless they were in a God temple, their power would accomplish nothing on the creatures of the Geno universe. Of course, if the creatures of the Geno universe made a wish to them, that was a different story entirely. Through the process of making a wish, they could use power and not be restricted. They could control them. Han Sen calculated that he needed another 2 months before entering the Geno universe, and he could only stay for 4 days. Han Sen frowned and thought, why do God spirits in the Geno universe have more restrictions than in the universe of kingdoms? Why are the creatures of the Geno universe not like the humans of the universe of kingdoms? They do not get blessed by God spirits, and they cannot be combined with God spirits. There was a big difference in the way the two universes operated. Han Sen knew it had to mean something. Li Bingyu had been guarding outside the Jin God Temple. Bald Guy asked Li Bingyu, Ghost Kill, do you think the God Temple belongs to the God Chaos Party? I do not know, Li Bingyu said with a shake of her head. She had only learned about them from Wu Wei Dao Palace. She had read books about the God Chaos Party. The members of the God Chaos Party were usually some very powerful, wild god spirits. They killed the main gods to earn god spirits. They disturbed the flow of things in the universe. They were very much like outlaws. Back in the old times, the God Chaos Party was very powerful. It had almost replaced the sky full of main god spirits to create a new god kingdom. In the end, the god spirits beat them. They vanished down the river of time. If it was not for Wu Wei Dao Palace having such a large vault of historical records, the God Chaos Party would have long been forgotten. When the God Chaos Party was in its prime, there were not 7 kingdoms yet. Decapitation Queen was one member of the God Chaos Party. Li Bingyu had casually read a book about it. There were 2 or 3 sentences that referenced Decapitation Queen. Due to there being such a small amount, She did not remember too much. While they were both feeling restless, the door to the god temple suddenly opened. Han-sun came out from the god temple in perfect shape. Bald Guy ran up and asked, "Old Han, are you okay?" "I am fine," Han-sun said with a smile. "This god temple was opened by my old friend. He invited me in for a chat, but I've finished now." "Are you a friend of a god spirit?" Bald Guy asked Han-sun in shock. He thought there was going to be a fight, but Han-sun had actually gone in to chat with a god spirit. "Yes," Han-sun said with a smile. "This god temple's main god is God of Wealth. He is my brother. If you want to change your god spirit blood pulse, just go in and say hello. I promise you a complete God of Wealth blood pulse." Bald Guy sounded excited as he asked, "What element is God of Wealth? What kind of god authority does it have?" "The God of Wealth is a wealth element god," Han-sun happily said. "It has a wealth god authority. If you have a God of Wealth blood pulse, you will be extremely rich." God spirits did not give out blood pulses easily, but it did not mean they did not have to give them out at all. They needed humans to have their god spirit blood pulses, so they could go on and do things. That way, their god spirits and god temples would become stronger. Han-sun decided to go back. He was going to give Feng Yin, the genius little girl, to the God of Wealth. He was sure she would achieve a lot. She would benefit from the God of Wealth temple. Chapter 3147 The use of a god temple. Upon hearing it had a wealth authority, Bald Guy lost all interest. He immediately shook his head and declined with a firm negative. After all, his father was the leader of a city. He was not exactly rich, but he never had a lack of money. Earning a lot of money wasn't something that interested him. If it was some god spirit blood pulse skill that could help a god spirit or a power that could increase one's combat proficiency, Bald Guy would have immediately accepted the offer. A God of Wealth god spirit blood pulse was useless for him. After all, he has a complete blood pulse, even if it was a low-level god spirit blood pulse. It was only destroyed class. While the three of them discussed things, the God of Wealth temple, which hovered above the river, went into the river. That was where the Breakhead God temple had been. "Holy shit. I am not a river god. Why did you sink into the river? This planet has nobody. If it sinks into the water, who is going to go inside and pray?" Han-sun felt depressed, but he could not move the god temple. The god temple was moved by a god's power earlier. Now that he had left the god temple, the god power in the god temple was gone. Therefore it sunk. After the Breakhead God temple was obliterated, Han-sun and the others did not encounter any more strange goings-on. The whole river glowed. But the land pulse weird scene did not really have a connection to the Breakhead God temple. After that, Han-sun and the others dug up land pulses around the river without fear. They could do so freely. Although the land pulses themselves might cause harm, the Repel Evil Rhino could deal with whatever was thrown at them. No injuries were sustained. They dug up many gene eggs. Plus, this was now a territory belonging to the God of Wealth. It was protected by the God of Wealth temple's power. The buff powers hardly did a thing to them. Han-sun decided to name the river God of Wealth River. He would have to think of a way to earn ownership of the planet at a later date, so he could go ahead and name the planet God of Wealth Planet. That way, he could invite more people and earn more resources for the God of Wealth temple. If he did not do that, the broken temple residing at the bottom of a river on a planet where no humans ventured would see no visitors. The land pulses around the God of Wealth River were very good. They were able to get king-class gene eggs by randomly digging. After digging for a whole day, they found a God-class gene egg. Bald Guy was happy, but he had already told Han-sun he didn't want anything more when he accepted the hawk. Now, Bald Guy's sudden excitement was crushed by depression. Han-sun was not interested in ordinary gene eggs. He kept looking at the flying fish next to him. After the fish absorbed the God Spirit blood pulse, it had become a God Spirit gene race that belonged to a wild god. It would make for a nice sub-god in his god temple. But the little flying fish's situation was rather complicated. If he wanted to make it a sub-god like Decapitation Queen, it would be difficult because the flying fish had no god base. A god base was needed. Aside from destroying other god temples to earn one, The only other way to get one was through giving humans blood pulses. Later, when the humans developed, the god spirit would reap their benefits. The god temple would then grow stronger. The gene race would become a new sub-god and have an empty god base. Unfortunately, Hansen's god of wealth temple had only just appeared. There were 7 slots for a sub-god, but there weren't any god bases. If a god temple had more sub-gods, it would become stronger. If Bald Guy kneeled before God of Wealth Temple's main god, he could get a main god spirit's authority buff. He would have wealth, and he could also have the sub-god's death penalty authority buff. The more sub-gods Hansen claimed, the more authority buffs Bald Guy could be given. Of course, Hansen wouldn't use the god of wealth's identity to impart a blood pulse. If people obeyed the sub-god, they could only claim the sub-god's blood pulse and authority buff. The main god had nothing to do with the temple and other sub-gods. If all the members of a sub-god achieved something, the main god would benefit. Feng Yinin had to be taken by the god of wealth. Hansen still counted on finding another buff with a Sonic-class sub-god. He did not want to waste her Sonic-class talents. As for other people, it depended on their attributes and preferences. Ordinary geniuses could give him a sub-god blood pulse while the real rare geniuses could be taken by him. Hang on. The Cast God Court method. Why am I sensing that it can create a sub-god? After Hansen thought of that, his face looked strange. The god of wealth river was too big. Hansen and the others went digging for a few more days, but they did not dig up much. This place has too many land pulses. Bald Guy, you might see it. Which land pulse makes this river glow? Hansen was not interested in digging ordinary land pulses. The gene eggs were great, but he wanted more god spirit blood pulses. If he found one, he could grade a god spirit gene race. Otherwise, with only ordinary gene races at his disposal, he could not make a god spirit gene race. According to the formation of snake turtle hide, that is the most dangerous land pulse, Bald Guy said. It should be in the lower stream of the Dark River. It is where the snake and turtle bit each other before receding into the turtle shell. Where they fight is the most dangerous place. In that case, let's go check it out, Hansen said. Bald Guy had a wry smile. I don't think we should do that. The river is underground. I do not have enough knowledge to survey land pulses that reside underground. If we dig slowly, I do not know how long it might take. Unless my teacher is willing to help us, we cannot do much about it. If things are really like that, then let's go and ask Mr. Wei, Hansen said after a think. Bald Guy said, I know you are strong, but others don't know that. This is the most dangerous place of the snake turtle hide. I am afraid he might not dare come with us. Well, we don't know if we don't try, Hansen said with a laugh. We have been here digging for days all for nothing. I am sure Mr. Wei will at least consider it. Bald Guy said nothing. After packing up, he went back to the base where Sky King was. After leaving the God of Wealth River, they met Brother 3. When Brother 3 saw them all return safe and sound with plenty of gene eggs, he looked angry and jealous. Weird. Even with Bald Guy's repel evil rhino protecting him, they cannot all make use of it. That little girl cannot even use a gene race, yet she returned just fine. Does that mean the snake turtle hide formation is not as scary as we thought? If I do not go close to the underground river, I should be fine. Brother 3 was awfully tempted. After all, if he dug gene eggs there, he would have to give a lot to Sky King, and Han Senator, his teacher, Mr. Wei, could only earn 30%. He would get even less than that. If he went near the river to dig, no matter what he got would belong to him. That was a big difference. Humans died for wealth. Humans died over food. Brother 3 felt determined. He ran to the river and started digging land pulses. He did not get too close to the stream. He stayed 200 miles away from it. He used a gene race to repel evil, but it was not something as good as the repel evil rhino. It was a lower level. The land pulses here are so good. I got a king-class gene egg on my first dig. Brother 3 was feeling perturbed. After digging up a gene race, he almost jumped up for joy. Huh? That Bald Guy is nothing. If he can dig up these land pulses, I can do it too. I can do it better than him. Brother 3 was excited, but he did not notice the black line on his neck. Chapter 3148 Vice President Sky King saw Han Sun and the others return from their venture safe and sound. He wasn't too surprised. He laughed and asked, "Brother Han and Bauer, what are the fruits of your labors like this time?" Han Sun did not beat around the bush and told it to him straight. The rewards were average. We only managed to dig up one God-class gene egg. We are only coming back to ask Mr. Wei for help. We want Mr. Wei to help us locate the primary land pulse in the river. I am afraid that might prove difficult, Sky King quietly said. It is not that I do not want to help you, but Mr. Wei is not one of my men. He has always avoided such dangerous formations. I am afraid it will be a lot to ask of him. How about this? I will come with you to seek out Mr. Wei. He might be more inclined to agree with me there. Thank you very much, Han Sun said. Sky King laughed and said, "Do not worry, Mr. Han. I really love Bauer. I still want to take her as a student. Speaking of that, you are no outsider to me. I would like to help you all that I can." Although Sky King was there to convince Mr. Wei did not agree to help dig up land pulses around God of Wealth River. He said that place was death, and it was a place that should not be meddled with. He also tried to convince Han Sun and Sky King not to trifle with the area. Otherwise, only bad things would come to pass. It was fine if Mr. Wei did not want to go with them. Han Sun just asked him where the main pulse was along the God of Wealth River, but Mr. Wei wouldn't say. He did not want to be responsible for someone coming to harm. Han Sun was speechless. He wanted to convince him further, but someone soon arrived. He explained that one of Mr. Wei's students had died outside of the base. Everyone went to have a look. It was learned that Bald Guy's brother 3 had been beheaded. He was a crumpled, headless corpse on the floor. Blood was everywhere. Han Sun and the others knew he had been the power of the breakhead wire. Han Sun laughed and coldly thought, that guy was brave. How dare he dig land pulses along my God of Wealth River? God of Wealth Temple was currently overseen by Decapitation Queen. The God of Wealth River would not allow anyone to get close to the temple. Without Han Sen's permission to go digging land pulses around the God of Wealth River, there was a guaranteed death sentence. Li Bingyu and Bald Guy were shocked. They had watched Han Sun murder Decapitation Queen, so they did not understand why the breakhead wire was still working. Thinking about that, they looked at Han Sun, who pretended he hadn't seen anything. He did not want to explain. After this, it was guaranteed that Mr. Wei would not tell anyone where the main land pulse was along the God of Wealth River. There was nothing Han Sun could do about it now. If he couldn't find the main land pulse, it was pointless digging up ordinary land pulses. The area around God of Wealth River was his territory. He could go digging whenever he wanted to. So, Han Sun planned on going to the other 5 planets of Ghost Starlight. Perhaps he would find something there. Sky King told Han Sun that the other 5 planets had already been taken by people with powers as big as his. Han Sun frowned. Sky King went on to say, "The God fights are to begin soon. If you are going to risk doing battle with people on other planets, why don't you ready yourself to participate in the God fights? If you win the first God rank, you can get a rare gene egg as a reward. Wouldn't that be better than digging up some random stuff from a land pulse?" It wouldn't be bad. Han Sun had heard Sky King mention the God fights before. He asked Bald Guy what the God fights were. The so-called God fights were about fighting all types of God temples. It was a traditional event associated with God temples that took place every 10 years. They just had to go back to the God temple where they got their blood pulse from and could then represent their God spirit in battle. If a challenger managed to defeat all their enemies in these fights, the challenger was rewarded with a rare gene egg. Even if they did not achieve first place, they got a gene egg as a reward. Everyone in the top 100 got one. If people performed well in the God fights, they were admired by the God spirits and had the chance to inherit a blood pulse. Across history, many nobles had been able to earn an eternal God blood noble status through the God fights. It was still weird. Every 10 years, there was one rare gene egg. The universe of kingdoms had many billions of years in its history. Many of the rare gene races should have been seen by now. Now the universe did not have many rare gene races. There were only 7 or 8 days left before the next God fights. Sky King had already prepared a return trip, so he could participate in the god fights. Han Sun did not have a god spirit blood pulse, so he wanted to go back to the God of Wealth temple and see if he could join the god fights. There were still 7 or 8 days until the next god fights, so Han Sun was not in a rush. He followed Bald Guy to dig up more land pulses. He then asked Sky King to send people to deliver the useless gene eggs to Mr. Yang in Jade Wall City. At least, his shop would blow up in popularity. Before Sky King departed, he asked Han Sun to look after the planet. He did not want him to leave the place open for someone else to swoop in and rob all the land pulses. Han Sun immediately agreed. He had a 30% stake in that planet. For the sake of that 30%, he was not going to allow anyone to take over the place. After Sky King left, the big sky demon, which had been missing for a while, appeared next to Han Sr. My little lover, you made a big mistake. The big sky demon was next to Han Sun, reaching her hand out to stroke his cheeks. What mistake did I make? Han Sun casually asked. You killed a member of the God Chaos Party, the big sky demon said with a sigh. You slew Decapitation Queen. People from the God Chaos Party will not let you go. If I can kill the Decapitation Queen, I can take down others, Han Sun coldly said. The big sky demon behaved as if she was comforting Han Senator. She continued to stroke his cheeks and said, My little lover, you are strong. You were able to kill Decapitation Queen. But challenging the God Chaos Party will not get you anything if you do not do things right. There is an 80% to 90% chance you will die. Why was I told that the God Chaos Party members were already killed by a sky full of God spirits, and there weren't any surviving members? Han Sun asked. The big sky demon shook her head. Those guys in the God Chaos Party cannot be easily killed. Many of them died in the past, but a few of the core members were able to remain. The most important thing to know, however, is that the president of the God Chaos Party was not killed. After a billion years of rest, the God Chaos Party is on the cusp of returning. You seem to know a lot about the God Chaos Party. Han Sun looked at the big sky demon and asked, Are you a member of the God Chaos Party? Yes, I was one of the God Chaos Party's 3 vice presidents. The big sky demon replied with a laugh. Han Sun was shocked. He had not expected the big sky demon to confess to it so simply. Han Sun looked at the big sky demon and asked, Does that mean you are going to try and avenge Decapitation Queen? The big sky demon put her face on Han Sun's chest and said, Of course not. I would never dream of killing my lover. Plus, I left the God Chaos Party a long time ago. Chapter 3149 Qin Bai's Trouble. Why did you leave the God Chaos Party? Han Sun asked with surprise. Although the legends claimed the leader was not killed, he never showed up again. Now the God Chaos Party is being run by one of the vice presidents. I had a conflict with him, so the big sky demon did not finish, but it was understandable. The big sky demon put her lips next to Han Sun's ear and seductively whispered, Who is the vice president? I cannot tell you that unless you truly are my lover. The Han Sun did not move. You already argued with the God Chaos Party. Why would you maintain their secrets? The big sky demon pushed herself up against Han Sun's chest and said, The legends claim the leader is still alive. I don't know if that is true. If he comes back one day, I will have to keep myself alive, right? In that case you should just leave, Han Sun said without moving. You are here. If the people from the God Chaos Party come, they are going to think I am with you. Do you know how much of a risk I have taken for you? The big sky demon rolled her eyes angrily at Han Senator. She went on to say, But you are my favorite little lover. No matter what it costs, I will refuse to sit idly by and watch you get killed. So, I have thought of a way that you will not be pursued by the God Chaos Party, and you can make the God Chaos Party never come looking for you and trouble. Han Sun looked at the big sky demon and asked, Oh, how is that? It is very simple, big sky demon seductively said. Just become my student, and I will protect you. What is that supposed to mean? Han Sun could guess what she was alluding to, but he had to confirm it to be sure. It is like other humans getting a god spirit to give them a blood pulse, Big Sky Demon said with seriousness. I can give you the Big Sky Demon blood pulse. You have a god temple? Han-sun looked at the big sky demon with surprise. Of course, the big sky demon said with a roll of her eyes. Where is your god temple? You are a gene race. Even if you consumed a god spirit blood pulse to become a god spirit gene race, you still can't have a god temple. Han-sun was very confused. Han-sun had been shocked about Decapitation Queen having her own god temple. He did not expect the big sky demon could have one too. If the members of God Chaos Party each had a god temple, that would be scary. It is no wonder the God Chaos Party was able to kill god spirits, Han-sun thought. Big Sky Demon smiled. I know where my god temple comes from. You do not need to care about that. Are you going to join me or not? Of course not. Han-sun rejected her offer. He also thought, it looks like Big Sky Demon does not know I have the God of Wealth temple. But she knows I was able to kill Decapitation Queen. All of that happened almost together. How does she not know about the God of Wealth temple? When the God Chaos Party people come and you seek my safety, finding me won't be so easy, the Sky Demon said. Then she disappeared. Han-sun wanted to ask her about the God Chaos Party some more, but Big Sky Demon was already gone. Han-sun was going to wait until the god fights began. Suddenly, someone came to the team of Big Dragon Riders and delivered an urgent message from Qinbai. Qinbai said he was in trouble, and he asked Han-sun to go and help him immediately, or he would end up dead. The messenger did not know the specifics of the trouble Qinbai was in. He only said Crown Prince Qinbai needed Han-sun to return with all haste. If he was slow, things were sure to turn out bad. Han-sun was confused. He did not know what sort of trouble Qinbai was in, but Qinbai's letter sounded extremely serious. So he hurried back to Jade Wall City. Han-sun, you have to save me. Otherwise I am going to die. When Crown Prince Qinbai saw Han-sun, it was like he was seeing Jesus in the flesh. He ran at him. He looked terrible and almost cried. Han-sun held Qinbai as he said, Crown Prince, chill out first. Tell me what happened to you. Qinbai looked as if he was in pain. He said, Teacher Jia is back. Who is Teacher Jia? What does that have to do with you? Han-sun asked with confusion. Qinbai anxiously replied, Teacher Jia teaches me to combat. He was an ambassador to the Qi Kingdom until only recently. He has been away for a few years. Now that he is back, and he has seen my homework, he is furious. He gave me a sword skill and told me to learn it in 7 days. If I don't do it, he will punish me. Upon hearing this, Han-sun was frozen. This extremely spoiled crown prince was able to be scared by someone like that. He was curious about what this teacher Jia was truly like. Qinbai had also made him come back in such a rush for a matter that was rather trivial. Han-sun did not know if he could join the god fights now, and that made him want to cry. Han-sun could not be bothered scolding him, so he just said, You are the crown prince. Even if you can't learn it, can he really do something to you? Qinbai hurriedly said, You do not understand. Teacher Jia is a good friend of my father. He is a very cold-blooded man. It's not just to me. He even beats my father. If he can do that, he will be extra mean to me. This one time, when I couldn't hand in my homework, he beat me. My ass was in such poor condition that I couldn't even lie down on a bed for a few days. Then he left for the Qi Kingdom. He was there for a few years, so I never thought he would return. Who would have known? After saying that, Qinbai's face looked like he was in pain. He was really scared of Teacher Jia. What sword skill did Teacher Jia want you to learn? Han-sun asked with curiosity. Qinbai took out a fist-sized scroll and said, He has made me practice a skill called Wavy Sword Skill. This sword skill needs to be combined with a water element gene race to practice. Teacher Jia gave me a water element god class gene race called a 9-wave fish. He made me combine with the 9-wave fish, expecting me to get good with it in 7 days. He also wants me to be able to cast Wavy Sword Skill. That is killing me. A god class gene race combination is hard enough to control, but he wants me to practice that in 7 days. It is impossible. I think Teacher Jia is just looking for an excuse to beat me up. Qinbai begged Han-sun. Han-sun, you are very good at finding your way out of trouble. Please find a way to save me. I don't want Teacher Jia to break my ass. Han-sun laughed. You are just a kid. Controlling a god-class gene race is a lot to ask of you. Learning how to practice with one in 7 days is impossible. I know, right? Qinbai nodded. That does not mean it is impossible, Han Sen said in a very chill manner. I have a way. I can help you practice the 9-wave fish quickly. In 7 days, you will be able to cast the wavy sword skill. Qinbai was surprised, so he asked, Really? What way would that be? Is it hard? If it is too hard, I can't do it. Of course it is real, Han Sen said with a smile. It is not hard either. You just need to know how to play it, and then you can do it. I am very good at playing. Please tell me, how do I play? Qinbai looked both surprised and happy. Ahem, Crown Prince. Allow me to introduce you to my daughter Han Bauer. Han Sen smiled at Bauer and introduced her to Qinbai. Chapter 3150 Qinbai practicing with the sword. Han Sen, you have a daughter that old? Qinbai looked at Bauer with shock. Qinbai wasn't in the mood to concern himself with that. He quickly asked, Han Sen, do you have a method or not? Tell me quickly. Han Sen smiled and said, My method is simple. My daughter has already learned some sword skills from me. Just have her practice with you. Qinbai's eyes opened wide at Han Senator. He said, Han Sen, you must be joking. Your daughter is so little. How can she know any sword skills? Even if she did, she could not beat my guards. If I wanted just anyone to help me practice, I could ask the people all around me. I don't need a little girl to practice sword skills with me. Han Sen smiled mysteriously. There is no need to be hasty, Crown Prince. My daughter's sword skills are average, but there is something miraculous about her. She enables anyone who practices with her to improve their sword skills in a short amount of time. Qinbai did not believe it. He looked at Bauer and asked, Really? Han Sen sincerely said, You have been nice to me. Why would I lie to you? My daughter is talented. In fact, practicing is not the most important thing. You only need to spend some time with her, and your sword skills will be vastly improved in just a few short days. You can practice that wavy sword skill with ease. If it is like that, then let's begin. Qinbai had some doubts, but he accepted. Han Sen shook his head. Mr. Crown Prince, this is the palace. If you guys play here, it is not very appropriate. Yes, Bai Qin said with a nod. We cannot let Teacher Jia see this. Let's go to your place. He was now looking quite excited. That's good. I have been living in Feng Castle. You should come with me. Han Sen smiled at Qinbai and left the palace. They went straight to Feng Castle. Han Sen and the others were still living in Feng Castle. The primary reason was that Han Sen wanted to frequently see Feng Yinyin. If he didn't, Han Sen would have already moved out. Wait, it's been so long since I last watched a concert, Qinbai said with a nod. I will ask Feng Feifei to sing a few songs for us. Han Sen took Qinbai to Feng Castle, but Feng Feifei was not home. Feng Yinyin said she was out performing and would not be back for a while. It is good that she is not here. Qinbai was disappointed, but Han Sen was happy about it. Please follow me, Han Sen said as he went to the garden. The garden looked like a garden, but it was the best yard in Feng Castle. Feng Feifei had people create it for Han Senator. The place made him feel very happy. He loved the little garden. The design was exceptional. Crown Prince, you stay here and be with Bauer, Han Sen said. I have stuff to do, so I will have to go for a bit. Go do your thing, Qinbai said. I will watch after Bauer. We will be fine. Han Sen did not say anything. He smiled and went back to his room. Although Han Sen was not someone who used a sword, his sword skills were fairly high level. He was not as good as the truly strong swordmasters. Only rare powerful swordsmen, such as Six Paths King, were a bit stronger than Han Sen on a sword path will. Teaching Qinbai the wavy sword skill was going to be easy. Even so, Han Sen understood Qinbai quite a bit. He was a person who was always fooling around. He was a bona fide spoiled brat. It was normal to have a kid like that in any ordinary family, but he was born to a royal family. Furthermore, he was the only successor to the kingdom's throne. A royal son wanting to play all the time was seen as much worse. With Qinbai's personality, if he had been born in a normal family, he would have been happier. But that was fate. People could not change that. Hansen knew that if he taught him sword skills seriously, he would only end up being bored after a short while. If he did not practice, and Hansen could not beat him, it would have been a futile endeavor. It was best left to Bauer to sort out a problematic child. In the garden, Bauer and Qinbai spoke happily with each other. Hansen thought, "You asked for this." Hansen shut the door and summoned the Sky King crown. He tried using the Sky King crown to return to the God of Wealth temple. He was able to use it in the Geno universe, but he did not know if it worked there. Fortunately, the Sky King crown was still usable there. After God took away the prior restrictions of the universe of kingdoms, Sky King crown had now become usable. Hansen wanted God to remove the restrictions of all his God personality armaments, but he had not yet seen him again. Hansen stood atop the altar. He felt the Sky God crown's power connecting with the God temple. The God temple was like a tree with deep roots. With a touch of the roots, Hansen wore the Sky King crown to feel what was happening in the God of Wealth River from a few 100,000 miles away. If the God of Wealth River led underground, the Sky God crown's sensing power did not work. It was blocked by something. What lies beneath the underground river? Hansen wanted to find out, but the underground river was at least 10,000 miles long. There were no coordinates either. It was going to be hard to find. While Hansen was thinking, he suddenly felt something. His mind jumped. His brain pictured something. He saw a woman holding a child rushing to the God of Wealth's area. A few people were chasing her. The person behind her shouted, "Woman, stop running. That child is bad luck. He will harm you and hurt Big Brother." He did not relent in his pursuit. The woman did not speak. She ran for her life. From the look on the woman's face, Hansen knew that she was dying. She was using all her will to support her flight. Just as she got next to the river, the people in pursuit caught up with the woman holding the child. "Lady, why are you doing this for an unlucky person? Look at what has become of you. Is this really what you want?" One of the people sighed as he spoke to the woman. "Please, I beg you. Just let us live." The woman, holding the child, kneeled and kowtowed before the person. "Lady, it is not like we want to kill you, but this child really is harmful to Big Brother. If he does not die, Big Brother will not get well. You are his wife. You do not want to see something bad happen to him, do you?" The person gave a signal, which led to the others close in on her. "This is our son. Is he really that cruel?" The woman clutched the child while crying. Hansen thought this was a strange scene. Has something like this really happened in this place of all places? For the most part, the whole planet is controlled by Sky King. Is this woman related to Sky King? Hansen's heart jumped. He looked at the child in the woman's arms. He was shocked. The child was 2 or 3 years old. It was in the woman's arms. Its eyes were open, but it did not cry or shout. That was not the problem. It was the child's face. It looked very cute and pink, but it was bald. Its head displayed 9 different lumps. It sort of looked like a Buddha. Hansen thought the child looked very familiar. He thought about it for a while and noticed it looked like someone. No way. This child. Is he the reborn burning lamp, the alpha of the Buddha? Chapter 3151 My fate is entwined with this child. Hansen thought the child looked just like Burning Lamp. He calculated the time from when Burning Lamp died to what the age of that child was now, and thought it was a perfect match. It is a shame for this alpha, Burning Lamp, to reborn into such circumstances. Hansen sighed. Back then, Burning Lamp was able to flip the clouds into rain. He once turned Hansen into an ant. How powerful was that? It was a shame he might not be able to grow up and live the life of an adult in this life. Hansen knew that if the little boy was Burning Lamp in his afterlife, past grudges meant nothing. The afterlife was just one spirit. None of Burning Lamp's persona or memories carried over to define him. In this world, one just had to picture a sheet of paper with lots of text and symbols scrawled on it. Although it contained meaning, if that paper was recycled to remove the text and drawings on the paper, it was just a new sheet of paper. I wonder what Burning Lamp's talents are in this life. Hansen's heart jumped. He looked at Decapitation Queen in her sub-hall. Decapitation Queen immediately said, I understand. The woman outside was holding her child and pleading for a chance, but the men were determined to kill the child. The man in the center said, "Woman, do not take it out on us for being cruel." After that, they moved to kill the child. The woman had some power, but she had been running for too long. She was like a lantern that had burned through all its oil. She was no longer able to fight her pursuers. "Please, someone save my child. If my child can live, I will gladly die." The woman held her child as her eyes brimmed with desperation and sadness. Seeing the knives about to fall, a noise sounded. The heads of the aggressors were suddenly lopped off. Blood soared through the air as their headless bodies slowly crumpled to the ground. The woman's eyes opened wide. She watched what happened in frightened awe. She then saw a giant, bloody guillotine floating in the air. Behind the guillotine was a queen-like doll pulling a cord. The woman was shocked. She looked at Decapitation Queen in horror. Her first impulse was to put her child behind her. Whoever saw Decapitation Queen would not have believed her to be a god spirit sent to save them. She was like a scary gene race that could consume all life. "If you want your child to live, come with me." Decapitation Queen pulled the guillotine toward the god of wealth river. The woman's face kept changing, but she was determined. For her child's security, she would live no matter what. The woman was still like a lamp that had run out of oil. Now she was following Decapitation Queen. She had totally used her will to go. Her body was wobbly, so she stumbled a lot. If there had been no will to protect her child, she would not have been able to walk at all. She finally walked to the bank of the river where the god of wealth temple resided. Decapitation Queen pointed at the river. "There is a god temple 10,000 miles deep. If you can take your child there, your child will be protected by a god spirit. He will inherit a blood pulse. In this world, no one will be permitted to kill him. If you do not want to go, you are free to leave." After that, Decapitation Queen pulled the guillotine into the river and disappeared. The woman knew her body was not going to last. She would have to rest for a long time before getting her power back. If she swam down with the current state of her body, there was an 80% to 90% chance she would perish. She looked at the child in her arms. The woman's eyes flashed. She stroked the child's cheek. The woman looked to be in the throes of profound sadness as she said, "My child has had a hard life. Even if he escapes today, you and I will still probably die alone. If you can really give my child a blood pulse, I would swim through a river of fire and knives to see him receive it. I hope the god spirit will let my child live." After that, the woman kissed the child on his forehead. She picked him up and went into the river. The god of wealth river was not normal. The woman dived in. She summoned an injured gene race to protect her child so her son would not drown and die. The woman only had that one injured gene race left, and she used to protect the child. She would just have to dive in on her own. In this world, the fitness level of humans was very bad. This woman's fitness level was not too bad. She was able to dive 1,000 miles deep, but it was now becoming a struggle. The woman gnashed her teeth and dived deeper. She felt powerless. Although she gritted her teeth and tried her best, she wanted her own will to push her down deeper and reach the god temple. Some things did not work because of fate's intervention. The woman's body could not hold on. She opened her mouth to breathe, but the water went in. The woman knew it was going to be bad, but she had no other choice. She looked at the child and put all of her power into the child. She wanted to call out his name, but when she tried, water went into her mouth. The heavily injured gene race was controlled by the woman. It was bid to swim down deep into the river. The woman could only watch her child sink into the dark of the river's depths while her vision started to fade. Hansen watched this happen from his god of wealth temple and sighed. In the end, the woman decided to give her life up for the child. Decapitation Queen, Hansen summoned. Decapitation Queen understood what Hansen wanted. She nodded and left the god temple. Just as the woman's will was going to be snuffed out, a blood-dyed rope came up from the depths of the water. It wrapped her body and pulled her deeper into the river. The woman was shocked, and her consciousness came back a bit. She saw a light. Deep in the river, a god temple was shining with gold. The river water around was kept at bay by the god temple. It enabled a large vacuum zone for it to exist. The rope came at her from the god temple. Decapitation Queen held the other end. Decapitation Queen held the child in her other hand. Cough cough. My name is Durulan. Thank you for saving me. I do not know how to pay you back. The woman fell in front of the god temple's plaza. She got up as she started coughing at Decapitation Queen. Come with me, Decapitation Queen coldly said. She held her child and entered the god temple's main hall. Durulan saw the god temple's plaque read, God of Wealth Temple. She was shocked. Decapitation Queen looked strange, but she was a god of wealth. It surprised her. When she walked into the god temple, she noticed Decapitation Queen wasn't the actual god of wealth. There was a god statue at the god altar that looked very powerful. Decapitation Queen did not dare stare at the god statue. She kneeled before the god statue and said, Mister, I brought them. Durulan now knew that Decapitation Queen, who looked like a god and a ghost, was just a subordinate of the temple's true master. She kneeled to the god spirit with Decapitation Queen and thanked it for saving her. My fate is entwined with this child, God of Wealth said. Will you allow him to join me? Chapter 3152 Fighting 300 rounds. I am willing to. Durulan kowtowed. If you are willing to, Decapitation Queen, you should take him to the side hall and test his blood pulse. Hansen did not plan on giving Burning Lamp God of Wealth's blood. He wanted it to be given by Decapitation Queen. As to what blood pulse he would give to Burning Lamp, that purely depended on his talent. He was willing to take care of him, but he would not force Decapitation Queen to give him a lifetime of blood pulses for him. When Durulan heard the God of Wealth statue speak, she was shocked. She watched Decapitation Queen walk to the side hall. After she thanked him, she followed Decapitation Queen. Durulan was from a good family. She saw the side hall's Decapitation Queen statue and knew Decapitation Queen was God of Wealth Temple's sub-god. She felt disappointed. The main god of the temple was the strongest. No matter how good the blood pulse was, obeying the sub-god was as good as the main one. Considering everything that had happened, Durulan could not really voice a complaint. It was miraculous enough that she was still drawing breath. Beggars could not be choosers. Decapitation Queen took the little boy to the altar. She placed the boy on it and told him, If you are willing to obey me, pick up the knife and cut one of your fingers. Place your blood on the god stove. Mister, he is still so young. Let me help him. Durulan stood up, ready to help him. Suddenly, she was unable to move. She was kept in place by some scary power. This is his choice, Decapitation Queen coldly said. Durulan could neither speak nor move. She was looking at her son with a heart that raged like a fire. The little boy was special. After all that had happened, he had not cried or shouted. He listened to Decapitation Queen and stood up. He picked up the sacrificial knife from the altar and cut his finger. He let the blood drop onto the god stove. Boom! A purple and black fire was on the god stove. It turned into demon fire that shocked the sky. The whole side hall was full of a murderous air. Some of the air rushed out into the sky from the guillotine. Hansen was in the main hall laughing. Burning Lamp really is Burning Lamp. Although he has been reborn, he is still very special. Thinking of Burning Lamp being able to raise the Buddha from being a no-name race to a race that was full of elites and had almost become a high race, it proved his power was very strong. Mr. Decapitation Queen wants to make a god spirit deal with him. Decapitation Queen said while kneeling before the God of Wealth statue. I want to make him an inheritable blood pulse. Sure. Hansen only said that one word. Decapitation Queen did not hesitate. A purple and black flame aroused on the guillotine and doll. They turned into a scary fire that headed for the little boy. The little boy's body was wrapped up by a purple and black flame. His forehead possessed a strange marking that resembled a guillotine. Within that mark, there was another mark that referenced it to be an annihilation god spirit. Decapitation Queen is an annihilation god spirit? Durulan was as much shocked as she was happy. She could not believe what she was seeing. A god temple's sub-god was an annihilation god spirit. The main god must have been a supreme existence. She could not imagine how scary it had to be. The gods pity us. My child finally has hope. Durulan was so happy that she cried. Han Sen saw the little boy compose a deal with Decapitation Queen. He was now an inheritor of Decapitation Queen's blood pulse. Han Sen's face looked weird as he started to think about some strange scenes. He thought about the little boy growing up to be very kind, just like Burning Lamp Alpha, but his hands would be holding a guillotine, killing countless droves of people. Han Sen thought it would be extremely weird. In the Feng family's castle's little garden, Qinbai and Bauer were sitting next to each other while playing chess. Bauer, do you know how to play checkers? Qinbai cockily asked. I can teach you how to play it. Bauer looked at him with disdain. She lifted her lips and said, You learned checkers from my father. Oh, I forgot that, Qinbai said with a laugh. You are Han Sen's daughter, so how could you not know checkers? That is good. How about we play 300 rounds? I won't let you win once. You need to keep your promise, Bauer said with a smile. You have to play 300 rounds. Of course you can go first. Qinbai sounded very confident. He loved playing checkers. If he did not need to practice with his sword, he would not mind playing a few rounds. Bauer accepted the challenge. She picked up her chess piece and made the first move. After doing that, Bai Qin thought it was not normal. It felt as if there was a sword air that shocked the sky coming at him. It gave him the feeling that the sky could break. Qinbai wanted to scream, but he noticed he was unable to move. He watched the sword air that shocked the sky go into his brain. He peed himself. Of course, that was not a real sword air. It was just Bauer's heart sword path. That sword skill was 6 Path King's sword skill. Han Sen had learned it as well. He had not mastered it, but he used it now and again. Bauer had learned it from him too. Now Bauer used the heart sword skill to simulate the wavy sword skill's sword mind. She used it to attack Qinbai's will to feel the sword skill's sword mind. Learning was very hard, especially for people who did not want to learn. It made it much harder. There was one condition in which people could learn fast and never forget. There was a saying, if one failed once, one would learn from the mistakes to get better. It meant the more disadvantages one had, the more one would remember. It did not make a person smarter. The more it hurt, the easier it was to recall the mistake. Bauer used that method. She wanted the crown prince to remember the wavy sword mind. Qinbai's tragic life had now begun. He noticed he could no longer scream or move. His body was uncontrollably playing a chess game with Bauer. Whenever Bauer made a move, it would become a scary wavy sword mind attacking him. Even though he knew the sword mind would not kill him, it still made Qinbai experience a lot of pain. The sword mind's pressure was something extremely difficult for most people to endure. The pain from the heart sword was not just pain in the body. Qinbai had to get attacked by that scary sword skill again and again. Every time it happened, it made Qinbai feel as if he was dying. He felt absolutely awful. Furthermore, the guards had no idea what was going on. They thought Qinbai was peacefully playing chess with Bauer. No one knew Qinbai was suffering pain that was too unbearable for most humans to endure. Teacher Jia Yizhen was in a good mood. Crown Prince Qinbai was scared of her. No matter how naughty he was, he always listened to her. He always did her homework seriously. This time, Qinbai had not practiced the sword skills. He had left the palace to go and play. Jia Yizhen was very worried about the future of the Qin kingdom. Chapter 3153. Jia Shizhen, hearing that Qinbai had been playing checkers for 2 days in the Feng family castle, without his ass leaving the chair once to touch the sword, Jia Shizhen was extremely worried. Other kingdoms had many inheritors. There was always a choice in who succeeded the throne. The Qin kingdom only had one crown prince. He was sure to be the next one wearing the crown. If Qinbai continued his ridiculous behavior, the Qin kingdom's lofty position would likely fall. A bad officer is able to destroy a kingdom. Jia Shizhen kept thinking about that phrase. The officers always spoke those 9 words. After she returned to the Qin kingdom, those 9 words were what Jia Shizhen heard the most. Every time she heard them, it seemed to be connected to Han Sen. Another 2 words she frequently heard. In the beginning, Jia Shizhen had the attitude to not totally trust those words. She did not believe them. After this experience, She was starting to believe that Han Sun was a bad influence. He was a very bad influence. I want to see this reckless nobody and what he is doing to trick Mr. Crown Prince. Jia Shizhen decided to go to Feng Castle. She wanted to meet the very famous bad influencer. Han Sun returned to Feng Castle and saw Bauer playing games with Qin Bai. Bauer seemed happy, but Qin Bai did not look to be faring as well. Feng Yin was watching their engagement with interest. In fact, during the past 2 days, she and Bauer had been playing games with Qin Bai. She had just learned checkers, so she was really interested in it. She thought Qin Bai was like her, which was why she gave up her rest time to play checkers with them. As only God knew that Qin Bai now hated playing chess. For as long as he lived, he never wanted to play another game of chess. He believed he would throw up the next time he heard someone even mention the checkers. Upon seeing a shadow in the garden, Qin Bai looked at Han Sun as if he was asking for help. That look was worse than that of a sheep going to be slaughtered. Han Sun pretended as if he did not know anything. He walked up to Qin Bai and asked, "Crown Prince, are you having fun with Bauer?" Qin Bai felt relieved to gain his freedom. He fell out of the chair. Han Sun immediately picked him up and shockingly asked, "Crown Prince, are you okay?" Qin Bai felt as if he was so angry that he could explode. He was going to yell at Han Senator when he saw Bauer. He felt more fear than anger. He madly whispered to Han Sun, "Han Sun, I treat you like a friend. I treat you nicely. How could you do this to me?" "Mr. Crown Prince, what are you talking about? Why would I want to harm you?" Han Sun looked at Qin Bai and spoke with a tone of shock. "You didn't bring me harm, but why is she treating me like this?" Qin Bai looked at Bauer and sounded weaker. He was scared of quite a few people, including Jia Shizhen, but even she didn't make him this scared. Jia Shizhen was now viewed as being much nicer when compared to Bauer. The girl's pretty face now looked demonic in his eyes. Han Sun seemed to understand. "I thought you wanted to practice with the sword. Bauer is here teaching you the ways of the sword. Is she not? How has she harmed you?" Qin Bai suddenly did not know what to say. Han Sun did not wait for him to formulate a proper response before asking, "Have you been playing chess games with Bauer?" "We have been playing games of chess for 2 days and 2 nights. Qin Bai loudly chomped his own teeth. Han Sun did not wait for him to speak. He looked at Qin Bai with shock and said, "Crown Prince, you really are a man with a mind like steel. It is no wonder you are the Qin Kingdom's Crown Prince. You will be the greatest leader. You'll be a leader that can conquer the world. A normal person's will is weak. To play a game of chess against Bauer, they would break. Yet you have been playing against Bauer for 2 days and 2 nights. You are strong. You are very strong. I have never admired anyone before, but I have to admire you, Crown Prince." Qin Bai was frozen. He was just a child who loved goofing around. He did not think that sounded right. Seeing Han Sen's shocked face, Qin Bai at least thought it was rather surprising. Cough. It was nothing. It was just a few rounds of chess. To a crown prince, it is not much of a feat. Based on the way he was now speaking, Qin Bai seemed to enjoy the praise. "Bauer, did I not tell you to allow him to rest? Why do you keep playing chess games with the crown prince? You are so rude." Han Sun looked cold as he told off Bauer. Bauer looked innocent as she said, "I planned on that, but the crown prince wanted to play 300 rounds with me. He is the crown prince. Why would I disobey his wishes? How could you take this out on me?" Bauer's face looked as if she had been wronged. Even Crown Prince Qin Bai felt sorry for her. After thinking about it, he had said something like that to Bauer. He really wanted to slap his mouth. If he had known this would happen, he would not have said something so brash. "I will punish you this time so you will not be so ignorant. You could run into trouble someday." Han Sun looked glum. It was as if he was ready to really teach Bauer a lesson, but he gave her a subtle wink. Han Sen's hand had yet to touch her when Bauer started crying. She was crying as she said, "Crown Prince made me do this. Why don't you punish him instead of me?" "It is fine. It is fine. It was me that did not clarify things. Please do not punish Bauer." Qin Bai felt really guilty as he spoke. "Go and thank the Crown Prince. Don't do it again after that. Do you hear me?" Han Sun let Bauer go. "I am so sorry, Crown Prince. Next time, when you play a game of chess against me, I will let you rest after 10 rounds. Bauer made a promise. When Qinbai heard that, his legs felt soft. He was shocked. He fell to the ground and shook his head. No more games. No more games. I will never play chess again. Han Sun thought it was funny. He wanted to say something, but someone suddenly made a declaration from outside the garden. Mr. Han, Teacher Jia wants to see you. After the person said that, a woman with a cold-looking face walked in. Qinbai saw the woman. His body started to tremble. He immediately bowed to her and said, Qinbai greets Teacher Jia. You are welcome, Crown Prince. When Jia Shizhen spoke, she did not look at Qinbai. She looked at Han Senator. He was different from the figure she had often heard about. There were no legends about his remarkable sharp mouth and monkey throat. He looked like a handsome man. His face was very sharp. It was hard to tell his age. Judging from his looks, he looked like he was in his 20s. Jia Shizhen was not someone who determined a person's character via their appearance. Her thoughts of Han Sun did not change because of the way he looked. Mr. Crown Prince, what are you doing here? Jia Shizhen did not speak to Han Senator to her. Han Sun was just a rankless, albeit loved, officer. Talking to him made her mouth feel dirty. Chapter 3154 Wavy Sword Mine. Qinbai looked frightened. He kept stuttering, unsure of what to say. Han Sun said, Mr. Crown Prince has been practicing sword skills here. I am addressing the Crown Prince. Since when were you permitted to talk to me? Jia Shizhen looked into Han Sun's eyes with flickering rage. The way Han Sun spoke was like he was lying without blinking. It enabled Jia Shizhen to confirm that he was a dog without any boundaries. The match of chess was only halfway done. There was no time to put it away. Thus, to still tell her Qinbai was practicing sword skills was ridiculous. No one would have believed his words, let alone Jia Shizhen. As teacher, I really was practicing sword skills. Jia Shizhen did not believe him, so Qinbai felt as if he was been wronged. He had suffered so much there, but Jia Shizhen believed he had done nothing but play around. He felt awfully wronged. Seeing Qinbai lie without blinking, Jia Shizhen's frown tightened. In the past, Qinbai had always been naughty, but that was fine because he never lied and always admitted to what he had done. Now, Qinbai's behavior had obviously worsened. It was likely affected by Han Sun, who was a dog. Jia Shizhen was not a dumb fool who had no brain. She did not want to immediately expose Qinbai. She coldly asked, How did you practice? Did you run into trouble? Qinbai wasn't too sure. He looked at Han Senator. He had been tortured for 2 days. Yet he had not held a sword once. He had not combined with the 9-wave fish either. That did not really fill him with courage. Han Sun nodded at him. To learn a sword skill, the most important thing was understanding. Skills and other things were not really important. Bai Qin had been tortured for 2 days by Bauer's simulation of the wavy sword mind. No matter how dumb he was, he should have at least learned something. Qinbai was not actually dumb. He was just very playful. Qinbai still looked frightened and desperate for help. Han Sun coughed and said, The Crown Prince has only been practicing sword skills for the past 2 days. He has not practiced combining with the 9-wave fish. Why don't you test the Crown Prince's sword skills first? Jia Shizhen did not stop Han Sun this time. She coldly laughed. This is ridiculous. If there was no combining with the 9-wave fish, he could not feel the water element power and wave power. Without those two feelings, the wavy sword skill cannot work. What in the world has he been practicing? The skills of the universe of kingdoms had to be used when combined with a gene race. Otherwise, a skill was just an empty shell. Jia Shizhen was not inclined to hear Han Sun's nonsense. She did not object. She told Qinbai, If you have practiced a sword skill, then show me how you practiced it. Qinbai's heart did not really have any power in it. He looked at Han Sun, but Han Sun just gave him a sword. He winked at Qinbai to make sure he could perform the wavy sword skill. Qinbai gnashed his teeth. He accepted the sword and walked into the field. He was going to perform wavy sword skill. Jia Shizhen did not say a word. She watched Qinbai's performance. She was not going to be surprised if Qinbai performed it terribly. She wanted to use this as an opportunity to keep him away from bad people and encourage staying in the company of good people. That was especially true of evil influencers like this dog. Han Senator, it was best for everyone involved if they stopped staying in contact with each other. Jia Shizhen had even composed a speech and thought deeply about how it could prove educational for Qin Bai. Qin Bai was not hopeless when it came to sword skills. After all, he had followed a few teachers for many years. He was not very good, but he could use ordinary sword skills. The wavy sword skill was something he had not practiced much, but he knew what it looked like. He was now performing it. The skill was not done smoothly, so everyone could tell that he had not spent time practicing it. Jia Shizhen looked as if she had expected this result. She was not surprised. She coldly looked at Han Senator. She saw that he was behaving very chill. It was as if Qin Bai's terrible performance had nothing to do with him. She thought the guy had to be incredibly shameless. If the Crown Prince was not allowed to play freely, he could have been spending the time practicing. On top of all this, it did not appear that Han Sun felt guilty. People with an attitude like that must stop having contact with the Crown Prince, Jia Shizhen thought. Seeing Qin Bai looking clumsily performing the wavy sword skill, Jia Shizhen could not bear to watch him much longer. If she did not want Qin Bai to be embarrassed, she would have already stopped him. The formation of the sword skill Qin Bai performed a little later started to surprise Jia Shizhen. When he first started, Qin Bai was too nervous. He had no idea what he was practicing and was freaking out. After trying it out a few times, it was unknown why, but he had started to think about the sword mind performed by Bauer. It was the one that shocked the sky. It was like reading 300 poems from the Tang era. Even if one did not write them down, one could still remember them. Qin Bai could not completely understand the will of the sword mind, but he had been hurt by it. Now he was performing it. It was kind of close. The more he did it, the smoother it went. Plus, Qin Bai was the sort of person to treat a dead horse as a living horse. He just kept performing. In the beginning, Jia Shizhen did not see the real thing. As Qin Bai started to perform more, that changed. Although his sword skills did not look experienced, within the sword skills, there were elements of the sword mind of wavy sword skill. Jia Shizhen could not believe it. Things like sword wills were very rare in the universe of kingdoms, because it drew on power from the outside. Not many people were able to practice like that, so ordinary gene casters went for powers that combined. They did not pay attention to the mind very much. Only some powerful elites would turn their focus to the mind when they reached the zenith of their body's capabilities. At Bai Qin's age, he was not interested in studying. Even if he was, there was no way he could learn the mind. Now Qin Bai's sword skill featured the mind. Jia Shizhen was shocked. She was unable to believe what she was witnessing. Jia Shizhen had to double-check it more than a few times. She eventually realized that she was correct. There was a sword mind at work in Qin Bai's sword skill. The wavy mind had to be correct. Qin Bai kept displaying the sword skill and showing it to Jia Shizhen. He was that Jia Shizhen looked surprised. He felt really happy about it. Jia Shizhen had trained him for a few years, but he had never seen Jia Shizhen look like this. She used to be very mean to him. She was always harsh and treated him like wood that could not be carved. This was the first time Jia Shizhen had looked at him this way. His confidence was given a major boost. He felt as if he had just eaten a life fruit. He felt as his body was surging with energy. Qin Bai was scared of Jia Shizhen. He was nervous, but the nervousness seemed to suddenly vanish. His sword skills seemed smoother. The wavy sword skills mind was becoming more prominent. Jia Shizhen was becoming more shocked. She could not figure out how Qin Bai's sword skills had developed a sword mind. Chapter 3155 Comparing Sword Skills. Teacher Jia, what do you think of my sword skills? After Qin Bai finished his performance with wavy sword skill, Jia Shizhen looked surprised. She couldn't believe what she had just witnessed. Qin Bai suddenly exploded with confidence. He looked at Jia Shizhen with confidence. Usually he never dared to talk to Jia Shizhen like that. Now he was cocky. He did not have the fear he usually harbored. Mister, your wavy sword skills are very good, Jia Shizhen said with a nod. If you combined with the 9-wave fish, you could conduct a miraculous performance. She was very surprised, so she asked, "How did Mr. Crown Prince practice in the past 2 days? You have got the wavy sword mind. You are a genius." When Qinbai heard that, his cockiness was amplified by a few more levels. He did not want to tell her Bauer tortured him to learn it. He made it sound better. "You wanted me to learn sword skills, but I did not know where to begin. So I asked Han Sun for help. He allowed his daughter to practice with me and help train the wavy sword skill. During the past 2 days, I have been practicing sword skills. If you think I'm doing all right, then I guess I succeeded." Qinbai was a person who could just heal the sky and forget the pain. He thought Han Sun had done well. Even teacher Jiao was complimenting him. He never thought something like this could ever happen, so he mentioned Han Sun for him to earn some credit. In a critical moment, Han Sun is the most helpful. If it was not for him, teacher Jiao would not be complimenting me. Qinbai was overjoyed. Jia Shizhen frowned. She looked at Bauer and thought, "This little girl is only 4 or 5 years old. How could the Crown Prince learn a sword mind by practicing with her? I do not believe this one bit." She did not believe it, but Qinbai did learn a sword mind in 2 days. If he had not practiced, then it would not explain his achievement. It looks like many myths cannot be trusted. This Han Sun might not be as useless as I first suspected. Jia Shizhen looked at Han Sun again. She now put everything on Han Senator. After all, Han Sun had killed Steel Scene. If there was someone who was able to teach Qinbai a sword mind, it would have had to be Han Sr. "Do you know the sword?" Jia Shizhen spoke to him with a different tone of voice. "I know a bit, but I am not very good." Han Sun was being very honest. Han Sen's sword and mind skills were not as good as Six Paths King. He was not as good as Lone Bamboo either. They were the real swordsmen. Han Sun did not put much effort into learning the sword skills. Words like that going into Jia Shizhen's ears seemed wretched. To be able to teach Qinbai a sword mind was an extraordinarily difficult thing. "No worries. If you do know a few sword skills, why don't we at least compare sword skills?" Jia Shizhen really wanted to give it a go. She wanted to know what skills Han Sun had. If he was someone good, then it was fine for Qinbai to spend more time hanging out with him. If he had used some sort of trick to let Qinbai learn a sword mind, she could not let Qinbai hang out with him. "The knife and the sword do not have eyes," Han Sun said. "I am afraid hurting each other is bad." "That's fine," Jia Shizhen said with a frown. "You and I can compare sword skills. We don't have to use gene race power." By saying hurting each other is bad, Han Sun meant it would be bad to hurt her. Jia Shizhen was determined. She did not want to accept his answer. If the teacher really wants this, then I have no choice but to comply. Jia Shizhen did not speak. She picked up 2 swords and threw one to Han Senator. She held one in her hands. When she waved her sword, it was the beginning of wavy sword skill. It was called Calm and Calm. Han Sun watched her perform Calm and Calm. He knew precisely what she meant. Jia Shizhen was going to test out his wavy sword skill. Wavy sword skill was not a very powerful sword skill. Skills in this world were not as great as the ones in the Geno universe. They depended on the outside power too much. It made their own powers possess extraordinary flaws. Aside from some powerful elites, no one could do them both well. Sun already had skills that were similar to that. After he saw Qinbai's performance, he was already familiar with wavy sword skill. He used the Calm and Calm beginner's skill. When Jia Shizhen watched Han Sun perform the same skill, she frowned. She used Calm and Calm as a beginning skill because she wanted Han Sun to strike first. Han Sun did the same thing as her, which meant he wanted her to go first. She was a teacher of the Qin Kingdom, and she was widely renowned for her sword skills. Han Sun's behavior suggested he was underestimating her. Jia Shizhen did not mind that. She readied herself to attack Han Sun first. When it came to the point where she needed to unleash a strike, she wasn't sure where to begin. Han Sun just stood where he was, using the Calm and Calm skill she was very good at. When Han Sun used the skill, it looked fairly average. Yet, when she wanted to attack, she could not discern a single flaw in his performance. When she couldn't find a flaw, it gave Jia Shizhen the feeling of being in a crisis. It was as if she'd receive a deadly counterattack if she dared try to strike. If that happened, the next strike would determine life and death. Jia Shizhen stopped her actions. She looked very serious. She looked at Han Sen's sword skill, wanting to find a breaking point. Try as she might, Jia Shizhen could not help herself from thinking about how incredibly weird Han Sen's wonderful performance of the sword skill was. It was like an endless sea full of danger. It looked like a calm sea, but under the water, many beasts lurked in wait. Jia Shizhen's forehead started to produce sweat. She did not dare move. If she moved, she was afraid she would be the recipient of a very scary counterattack. She never thought calm, which was not a very powerful skill, could produce such a scary mind and atmosphere. Jia Shizhen thought Han Sen was a mysterious individual. She thought the sword skill he used was like an endless sea with many scary tricks and things hiding beneath the waves. Jia Shizhen felt like she could not attack. She felt as if she was a lone human facing an endless sea. The power made her feel small and insignificant. If she was able to use a gene race, she could have used its special powers to fight back. Unfortunately, this was a fight based purely on their sword skills. It made Jia Shizhen's entire body develop a sweat. Her clothes were wet. She was unable to move. If she moved, it felt like Han Sen would cast a deadly skill and kill her. Who is this Han Sen? How can his sword skills be so scary? It was just a very normal skill, yet he has made it so scary. It is no wonder he can teach Qin by a sword mind. Jia Shizhen's impression of Han Sen had radically shifted. Jia Shizhen did not believe someone who had such good sword skills and mind was an evil influencer like a dog. Chapter 3156 Researching Positivity and Negativity. As Wen Qinbai looked at Han Sen and Jia Shizhen. He did not understand the very high-level swordsmanship on display, but he could read people's faces. Han Sen looked calm. Jia Shizhen looked serious. She even had a cold sweat. By seeing that, he could tell which of the pair were winning. Han Sen is so awesome. Even Teacher Jia cannot beat him. Qinbai was happy. He had the feeling one felt when finding someone to depend on. This feeling was different from how others experienced it though. There were two types of people around Qinbai. One type was the good subordinates that made him happy, and the other was like thousand-mile teacher and Teacher Jia, who taught him stuff. Because he was not in charge of the kingdom yet, the officers around him did not have too much authority. They were just there to make him happy. They could not really sort out things for him. But the teachers were too hard on him. Every time he saw a teacher, he acted like a mouse seeing a cat. His mother died when he was young. Qin Jingzhen was a good king, so he was always busy with work and did not spend time with his son. When Qinbai ran into issues, the officers could never help. He never talked about things with his teachers. They would not help him. They would merely tell him off. A person like Han Sen, someone who could support him, was the first person of this type that Qinbai had ever met. Steel Scene, Thousand-Mile Reach, Teacher Jia, and the others annoyed Qinbai feel. Yet Han Sen was able to deal with them just fine. He even suppressed them. The confidence and power he repeatedly saw made Qinbai feel as if he needed to lean on Han Sen completely. This type of reliance was like a little brother depending on a big brother. Qinbai was not scared of him. He just relied on him. No matter what he did wrong, he could always ask Han Sen for help. Han Sen would come and make things better for him. Teacher Jia's mood was not as positive as Qinbai. She was in a place where she could not move forward or backward. Han Sen's calm made her unable to fight back, but she could not just quit like that. They were just frozen where they were. "Dad, I am hungry," Bauer suddenly said with a blink. When Han Sen heard her, he put his sword away. He smiled. "Mr. Teacher, why don't we stop here for today?" Teacher Jia felt an immediate wave of relief hit her. The pressure was gone. She looked at Han Sen weirdly. After a while she seriously said, "I lost. I will come and ask you for further demonstrations of sword skills another day." Jia Shizhen was no longer seemed as proud as she had earlier. Her tone of voice had changed. On her way back, Teacher Jia kept thinking about what happened with Han Senator. She found it very hard to believe. That very famous dog of Jade Wall City had such a powerful sword skill. In 2 days he had managed to make that troublesome student, Qin Bail, learn a sword mind. All of that did not sound like the same Han Sen she had heard about from other people. Teacher Jia, the mister has asked you to come to the study. When Jia Shizhen returned to the manor, Qin Jingzhen summoned her to the palace. Did you go meet Han Sen? Only Qin Jingzhen and Jia Shizhen were inside the study. The other maids and guards were kicked out by the king. Jia Shizhen nodded. Yes, my king. I met him today. What do you think about him? Qin Jingzhen asked. Jia Shizhen quietly said, he is unpredictable. It is hard to grasp his aim with accuracy. Why do you ask? Qin Jingzhen sighed. He is getting closer and closer to my son. Ergo, I wish to know more about him. Do you think it is good or bad for my son to remain close to him? When Jia Shizhen heard him, she thought about it seriously. She did not answer his actual question. She asked, do you know where he came from? Qin Jingzhen shook his head. I have already had others investigate him. There is not much information to be learned. I only know that he is a villager from Big God Mountain. There is nothing else to be learned about him. Jia Shizhen looked serious. I see. I think it would be best if the crown prince does not remain too close to him. What makes you say that? Qin Jingzhen asked. Jia Shizhen replied. He is unknown, and his power is horridly strong. If he helps the Qin kingdom and the crown prince, he will be a magnificent ally. If he does not help, he could do great harm to the Qin kingdom. It would be best to keep some distance. When he heard her, Qin Jingzhen nodded and said, what you said makes sense. There is one thing about Han Sen I should tell you, and do not repeat this to anyone else. What is it? Jia Shizhen looked surprised. Qin Jingzhen rarely spoke like this. Qin Jingzhen said, Teacher Jian is next to Han Sr. Jia Shizhen could not react. She was shocked. When she was able to clear her mind, she happily asked, what are saying? Is it Jian Bugu, Teacher Jian? Before Qin Jingzhen could answer, Jia Shizhen said, it is no wonder this has happened. Han Sen must be a student of Teacher Jian. That has to be why his sword skills are so good. With Teacher Jian's student to teach the Crown Prince, Mr. Crown Prince will grow up to be a great man. Qin Jingzhen had a wry smile. You are wrong, teacher. What do you mean? How I am wrong? Jia Shizhen asked with confusion. Qin Jingzhen's expression descended into being weirder and weirder. He looked at Jia Shizhen and slowly said, Han Sen is not Teacher Jian's student. Teacher Jian is with him. He claims he is Han Sen's servant. What? Jia Shizhen was frozen like a wooden chicken. She opened her mouth wide and could not think straight. Qin Bai did not stay in the Feng family's castle. He was still afraid of Bauer. Whenever he looked at Bauer, all he could see was an angry dog. He wanted to avoid her the best he could. After Bai Qin left, Han Sen played a bit with Bauer. After eating dinner, he went off to do his own things. He wanted to research the positives and negatives of combined skills. The reverse cold sutra did not have a suitable gene race, so he could not practice it. These days, Han Sen had already researched the core components of the reverse cold sutra. He focused on the positives and negatives of the combined skills. He researched them for a long time. Han Sen wanted to use Night God No Moon's experience to put his Blood Pulse Sutra and Xian Yellow Sutra together. He wanted to see if he could craft a power that might break the world. After all, the two of them were different skills. Night God No Moon's experience could be used as a reference, but most of the time, Han Sen had to depend on his own ability of modification. Han Sen had to find a way to combine the negatives and the positives. His progress was not going in leaps and bounds. It would be great if I could find a gene race that was suitable for practicing the Reverse Cold Sutra. Han Sen started to look at the God fights. If he was able to get first place in the God fights, he could earn a rare gene race. If the element fit, he could practice the Reverse Cold Sutra with it. Even if the element did not fit, he could use it for the Caste God Court or perhaps even match it with the Dongxian Sutra, or the Story of Genes. At the very least, it would certainly be of some use. Chapter 3157 Rocky D. When it came to dealing with positive and negative skills, The biggest problem was striking a fine balance. The power of the Xian Yellow Sutra and Blood Pulse Sutra had to be perfectly balanced if they were to be merged. That was integral. In the universe of kingdoms, Han Sun was unable to use the Blood Pulse Sutra's power unless he broke the rules of suppression that dictated the world. Breaking the rules was the only way he could use of Blood Pulse Sutra. Even so, in a situation in which one power received support from the rules of the world, and the other was repelled by the powers of the world, wanting to strike a perfect balance between the two powers was extraordinarily difficult. Because of God's warning, Han Sun did not want to destroy the rules of the world. That had become obvious. Thus, his careful practice wasn't yielding many results. While Han Sun was practicing, a servant of the Feng family came running up to him and informed him about the peculiar guest. "Mr. Han, I believe there is a Mr. called Rock that wants to see you. He told me that he wishes to talk about some business exchange with you, or something like that." "Bring him to the conference room," Han Sun quietly said. When Han Sun went to the conference room, he saw a man waiting there. That man was wearing a black suit. His entire body and image were strikingly tidy. His suit did not have any wrinkles. His shoes were as polished as the surface of a mirror. Atop his head was a black top hat. When he looked at the face beneath the brim of the top hat, the most impressive thing to see was 2 mustaches. People who had a beard usually were dirty and wild. This man had 2 little black mustaches that made people think they were suitable on his face. Without those 2 little mustaches, he would have looked less manly. With those 2 little mustaches, the man was very attractive and mature. His eyes were as black as the night. It gave the man a charm and allure that was difficult to describe. When Han Sun looked at the man, he had to confess that his first impression was him being a man who left a good impression. "Hello, Mr. Han. I am Rocky D. It is nice to meet you." The man saw Han Sun walk in, so he stood up. He took off his top hat and brought his other hand forward to shake with him. He was very polite. Being appreciative of his manners, Han Sun saw no reason to reject a nice, friendly handshake. Therefore, he merrily shook Rocky D's hand. He could not help but immediately remark how Rocky D was such a gentleman when it came to the art of shaking hands. His touch on Han Sun's hands was very gentle, and the shake was graceful. He shook Han Sun's hands softly and let go. Han Sun let Rocky D sit down before asking, "So, why you have come all this way looking for little old me?" Rocky D replied, "Mr. Han, it has come to our attention that you recently killed Decapitation, Queen of my God Chaos Party. It is because of this villainous act that the leader has asked me to come here in search of compensation." "Oh, what sort of compensation should I give you?" Han Sun was shocked. He was not shocked because Rocky D was from God Chaos Party, as there were weirder things than that. It was really strange to know that Rocky D had simply come looking for him in such a fashion. Rocky D seriously said, "There is a saying that if you take a life, you pay back with life. If you owe someone money, you pay them back with money. The God Chaos Party has been fair. You killed Decapitation Queen, so we lost a good member. We hope you, Mr. Han, can join the God Chaos Party to replace her position and call things even." "That sounds fair, but I am not interested in joining the God Chaos Party," Han Sun said. Rocky D was not aggravated by the rejection. He maintained his elegance and smiled. "That is okay. If you do not think that will work, I have another suggestion." "Tell me." Han Sun looked at Rocky D with interest. Rocky D looked sincere as he said, "If you keep working for the party, it will be hard for you. Decapitation Queen was one of our core members. She cannot have died for nothing. So, I have a way to resolve this. You must do 3 things for the God Chaos Party. Accomplish these tasks, and we will call things even. What do you think?" "What 3 tasks do you have in mind?" Han Sun asked. Rocky D said, "I don't know yet. But do not worry, the God Chaos Party will never force someone to do something impossible. It will be something within your capabilities." "Sorry, I never agree to things I don't know the details of," Han Sun said. Rocky D dimly looked at Han Sun and asked, "Does that mean you are not planning to compensate us for what you owe?" "I owe people many things. If I was to pay everyone back, I would die many times over. How could I still be alive?" Han Sun did not plan on agreeing. He just nodded. I hope you rethink this decision. If you change your mind, call this number. This number will work before midnight. Rocky D gave Han-san a card and said, "Excuse me." After all that, Rocky D put his top hat back on, patted his clothes down, and exited the room. Be polite first and then be mean. This God Chaos Party is interesting. Han-san looked at the card. The card was made of black metal. Rocky D's name was written on it. There was a number on the back, and below, there were a few words. It said, God Chaos Party's Minister of Foreign Affairs. He turned the metal card over. There were no words on the backside. There was just the symbol of a clown. When Han-san saw the symbol, it looked familiar. He had seen that somewhere before, but he did not remember where. The clown symbol was dark red. It looked as if it was jumping or running. Its face was turned 90 degrees, so it was looking forward. Atop its head was a clown hat. The clown's eyes were like moons. Its lips were up. It had a weird smile that made people feel rather uncomfortable. Han-san thought he had seen this clown symbol before. He was certain of it. As he held the card, he tried to remember where he saw it. After a while of brainstorming, he recalled where he had last seen that symbol. In the beginning, he Exquisite, and Likir had entered a crystallizer laboratory in the core area. He had spent some time there with the big and small crocodile gods. It was there that he discovered many crystal cans the crystallizers used for their tests. It was there Han-san saw the remains of an arm. It was on that arm there was the tattoo of a clown. No. It was not just similar. It was the same. I remember the size was almost similar. Is that just a coincidence? Han-san thought it was weird. He looked at the clown symbol as he receded into deep contemplation. He remembered the arm and bones had some text. The content stated, M67 test subject has mutated. The test results are unknown. Number 7586 core created God plan failed. It was some information like that. Chapter 3158 Death Silhouette. The crystallizers were powerful, but they were not strong enough to overcome reincarnation. How were they connected to the God Chaos Party? Han-san wondered. He could not figure out why. Han-san was certain about one thing. Rocky D's phone number only worked before midnight. It meant that after midnight, the God Chaos Party would deal with him in their own way. Regarding the God Chaos Party, Han-san wouldn't dare be careless in their presence. Back in the day, they were almost able to usurp the god spirits. Their might was not inferior to Qin Xiao. Han-san was also restricted by the rules of the world. Even if he did not pay heed to God's warning, breaking the rules of the world would not provide Han-san much of an advantage, due to the short amount of time his rule-breaking would last. Han-san spent his time researching the positive and negative combination skills, waiting for the clock to strike midnight. In an old building, Rocky D was waiting in a living room. There was a big bell in the living room. He was waiting for that hour to come as well. Mr. Minister, just kill Han Senator, why even give him a chance? Next to Rocky D, there was a maid-like creature. She was not described as a human because her head possessed a black draconic horn. Rocky D smiled. The God Chaos Party failed last time, because we underestimated the power of humans. This time, we are going to try our best to control the powerful humans. We will not allow the god spirits to take advantage of them. I see. Mr. Minister is very smart. The maid looked at Rocky D with admiration. Rocky D sighed. Han-san was able to kill Decapitation Queen and destroy Breakhead Temple because his power is as strong as the 12 main gods. It is a shame that his power is hard for us to use. Mr. Minister, are you saying he is not going to call? If he isn't going to, why are we waiting this long? The maid was shocked. Well, there is no need to be super hasty. Besides, he is a genius. It is a firm belief of mine that geniuses like Han-san should always be given a chance to prove themselves. Rocky D looked deeply into the clock as he spoke. Time went by, second after second. When all the needles pointed to 12, the bell made some dong sounds. After it rang 12 times, Rocky D got up off his couch and sighed. The God Chaos Party has not received fresh blood and a bright mind to join in a long time. I was hoping to have a good start with Han Senator. I was hoping something might happen between us. But I'm afraid. The maid's eyes opened wide. She happily waited for Rocky D to say something. Her eyes looked sparkly. "Mr. Minister, are you going to use that?" Rocky D did not answer. He raised his right hand. He looked at his hand seriously. His fingers were very long and powerful. They looked awfully pretty. His hand did not have a single scar or scratch on it, neither was his hand old and wrinkly. It was the sort of hand that could be a hand model. On that beautiful hand a black flame arose. It was like some demon air from hell. In fact, it was not just his hand. Rocky D's entire body burned with a strange, black flame. The look on his face had changed. His eyes brimmed with passion. His other hand reached into the sky. A paper appeared. Rocky D mumbled, "The art of light and shadow. The passion it strikes between life and imagination. It gives the lifeless things the most beautiful of souls. Death silhouette." His right hand's black flame gathered up quickly. It was like Han Sen's shadow was jumping in that black flame. Han Sen was in the Feng family's garden when he felt it. He looked at his right hand and felt something, but it only lasted a second. Does that mean? When I shook hands with Rocky D today, Han Sen thought of something, which made him frown. In the living room, Rocky D held his right hand. The black flame generated the shape of scissors. He held them in his hand. In the next second, Rocky D's eyes glowed. The paper and scissors started to move. The action was incredibly fast and elegant. There was a crazy amount of cutting going on. It unfolded like a dance. One could almost see the countless shadows of the hand. It was like a demon that had many arms. It only happened in a moment. The very square, white paper was cut into a human-shaped body, and the white paper turned into black. Upon looking closer, one noticed Death's silhouette was the side of Han Sen's face. Even though it was just a black shadow, there was no face or emotion displayed. Anyone who knew Han Sen would be able to recognize it was him. It is no wonder you are Mr. Minister. No matter how many times I watch this, Death's silhouette just blows me away. The maid looked at Rocky D with nothing short of sheer admiration. Rocky D did not seem to listen to the maid's compliments. He was very focused. His eyes looked at the silhouette passionately. It was like he was admiring his own handiwork. What a shame. Such an interesting soul is going to disappear like this. After that, the silhouette's right-hand scissors turned into a jumping black fire. It was like some purgatory fire that was burning. Han Senator Rocky D looked at the silhouette. He then moved it to the black fire. The silhouette that touched the black fire was ignited. His feet started to burn. At the same time, Han Sen, who was in the garden, started to burn with an invisible fire that started in his feet. It wrapped up his feet and quickly started to spread higher. The black fire was very weird. It seemed to burn hard, fast, and violently. Despite that, Han Sen's clothes weren't actually immolated. His legs weren't really on fire either. Han Sen started to feel some kind of pain that came from deep within his soul. He felt as if his legs were being charred into dust. It made people like him, who had such a strong will, feel so much pain that he wanted to scream. His body trembled. Han Sen's face changed. He immediately cast the Xian Yellow Sutra, wanting to get rid of that weird, black flame that suddenly sought to claim him. Quite concerningly, the Xian Yellow Sutra did not work on the black flame. Within the blink of an eye, the black flame had already reached his thighs. Below his thighs, he could not feel anything. His legs were still there, but he did not feel anything at all. Without even thinking, Han Sen summoned the Sky God crown. He wore it and became an annihilation god of wealth. He went back to the God Temple for a retreat. He used the God Temple and Sky God crown's God Spirit power to fight the black fire. All of that started to work. Under the God Spirit's power, the black fire was suppressed. It could not spread any further, but it was not extinguished. It still ravaged where it could. The paper man in Rocky D's hands was like that too. The black fire stopped around his thighs. The flames could not go any higher. Very good. Let me, the paper god Rocky D, have a look at how strong you really are. Rocky D's eyes were suddenly burning. The black fire coming out of his eyes was like a volcanic erupting. Chapter 3159 Breaking the World. Underworld Silhouette. Rocky D coldly shouted. The black flames on his body turned white. The flames were strong. They were like ice that could not be broken. The black paper man was burned by the white fire, which turned it white. It was wrapped up by the white fire. The white fire was burning on Hansen's body too. The scary fire felt like it was ravaging his soul. The god temple and the god of wealth's power were insufficient. They could not keep the white fire at bay. The light of the god temple started to go dim. Mr. Decapitation Queen's body had a purple fire burning with god light. The guillotine and doll shone with a lot of god light. It helped the god temple and Hansen fight the scary white power. They fought it together. It made the invasive white fires slow their encroachment. Even so, the white fires were still slowly consuming Hansen's soul. The white fire did not physically damage the body. To god spirits, it still dealt an incredible amount of damage. This is the break world power. Hansen suddenly thought it was familiar. It was the same feeling when Night God No Moon used break world power, but both of their elements were different. This layer of power could not be misidentified. Hansen still felt that this power was weaker than Night God No Moon break world power. It was not as scary as he thought it might end up being without a shadow of a doubt. Hansen broke the suppression of the world's rules and entered Super God Spirit mode. Only Super God Spirit mode could fight the break world power. The burning white fire came out of Hansen's eyes. It spread all over his body. It turned his body into a white shadow. His body looked as if it was no longer solid. The power of Super God Spirit mode was finally able to put an end to the fires that corroded his spirit. Hansen's eyes flashed. The entire world's substance chains were in his eyes. His hands were going toward those substance chains. It broke the white fire's substance chains. The white flame on him was suddenly extinguished. Stillness and silence returned. With the absence of the white flame, there were no scorch marks left behind. It was like he had never been on fire. In the living room of an old house, Rocky D's white paper man was suddenly turned to dust. Rocky D coughed up some blood. Interesting. He was able to break my underworld silhouette. It is no wonder he was able to kill Decapitation Queen. Rocky D's eyes flashed with surprise. He put out his red tongue and wiped away the blood. A flare of excitement started to cross his face. That is good. This beginning is quite interesting. Hansen, you have what it takes to be my prey. Super God Spirit mode provided invincibility. Hansen was finally able to extinguish the white flame that plagued his body, but it didn't bring him any joy. God Chaos Party was scarier than he had imagined. He was not allowed to use the Super God Spirit mode to sort out his problems all the time. I must learn the break world power quickly, Hansen thought. The God altar moved. A man stood atop the God altar. It was God, who Hansen was very familiar with. He was the superior being that controlled the Geno Hall. You broke the rules again. God looked at Hansen as he spoke. I had to. People from the God Chaos Party tried to kill me. I could not just stand by and do nothing. Hansen shrugged. God blinked. It looked like he was smiling, but he wasn't smiling. I am okay with it, but 2 worlds are suffering damage because of you. When the worlds are destroyed, don't say I did not warn you. Is it really that bad? Hansen did not believe his breaking the rules could cause so much damage. Qin Xiu must have done it a lot in the past. You have been in this universe for quite a while of time now, haven't you? God asked. Therefore, being the curious being that you are, you must know quite a bit about this world and how it operates by now. Am I correct? If so, have you heard about how this universe came to have so many God pulses and gene eggs in the first place? Regarding that, I heard the reason that there are so many God pulses and gene eggs is that the Geno universe had too many God spirits die. Hansen said. That is one of the reasons. The opposite of a creature being born is dying. God pulses and land pulses are not. God paused and asked, how about that? After your fight with Qin Xiu, the 2 universes underwent big changes. What became clear to us was that creatures grow quickly. Things that were not supposed to be here have shown up far too early. Is this connected to me breaking the rules of the universe? Hansen asked. To be accurate, these mysterious and weird scenes that happen are because the universe itself is in a fixing and balancing mode. The powers that should not be here have been activated. It's like humans using their potential. If this keeps going, and the universe becomes exhausted, the universe cannot go back to running how it has been. That means the machine of the universe will stop operating. When that happens, there will be darkness and destruction. That sounds very complicated, but I don't care, Han-sun said. I can stop breaking the rules of the world, but you need to make sure I don't die in here. Before God could speak, Han-sun smiled and said, God Chaos Party's minister has a frightening amount of power. Even with Moment God, he cannot be beaten. How did you guys defeat the God Chaos Party in the past? God knew what Han-sun was getting at, but he still said, it is very simple. What makes you think God spirits need to give blood pulses to humans? Are you saying humans give power to the God spirits for the God spirits to be stronger and perhaps even use break world powers? Han-sun did not quite believe it. Break world powers are too destructive and tolling on the universe. God spirits cannot use the power. As protectors of the universe, God spirits can use this world's power, whether from humans or gene races, to aid them. It's like you having Decapitation Queen. When she became your sub-god, your god powers actually became stronger. She can also use her powers to assist you in combat. In that capacity, humans are similar. The more you have on your side, the more they achieve. The power they can give you can also be more. What level must I reach to challenge the members of God Chaos Party? That was what Han-sun cared about. That is very simple. Your god of wealth is not a fighting god spirit, so it is a bit weak on that front. You could destroy the 8 annihilation god spirits and make them your sub-gods, but it would be best if they were 8 wild annihilation god spirits instead. Then fighting Rocky D would be easy. God laughed. Han-sun rolled his eyes. Wow, you sure make it sound easy as pie. How am I supposed to find wild annihilation god spirits with ease? It isn't easy. If it was, the God Chaos Party would not have just almost broken the Geno Hall. He made the last leader reopen the universe to destroy the God Chaos Party. God sighed. Chapter 3160 Humans That Should Not Exist. Han-sun hurriedly asked. What? The universe was rebooted once. Is this the consequence of it being rebooted? Does this mean everything in the universe has to start from scratch? God shook his head. It's not like that. Reboot god spirits can reboot things, but they cannot really return the universe to how it was in the beginning. There is so much I could explain, but I don't have the time to tell you everything. Aren't you a reboot god spirit? How can you not explain your own powers? Han-sun looked at God with a look of disbelief. God seriously said, I really am a reboot god spirit, and I can reset things. But do you know the price it costs to reboot the universe? What price would you pay? Han-sun asked. Didn't I tell you the last temple owner rebooted the universe? God asked with a smile. Han-sun froze. He suddenly realized something. God meant that the last Geno Hall owner activated the universe reboot powers. That was why he was the last one. Han-sun looked at him strangely as he asked, Are you saying you are the leader of the Geno Hall now? God nodded and said, It is lucky you aren't too dumb. Even if I have reboot powers, the consequences of me rebooting are something that not even I can comprehend. After pausing, God went on to say, Rebooting the universe did not sort out our issues with the God Chaos Party. We dealt great damage to the God Chaos Party, but most of God Chaos Party's members were reborn to become new creatures without any connection to their past life. Unfortunately, some fish were able to escape the net. After all these years, they have grown up again. When the God spirits were rebooted, they suffered a lot as well. The God spirits that had already reached their zenith were beaten back down to their paltry beginnings. They had to start their own developments all over again. Because the universe was rebooted, the resources of the universe were quite lacking as well. The God spirits evolved very slowly. Otherwise, in the past, when you looked at the high-level God temples, there would not be just one main God. After saying that, God laughed. The universe was messed up by you and Qin Xiao. To God spirits, it has provided an opportunity. The resources they have been able to get in the universe are far more than before. They were able to grow up fast. Many God spirits have been able to get back into their prior prime. Han Sun looked at God and said, I have some questions. Why did the humans of the universe of kingdoms earn the protection of God spirits, or even have the ability to become a god to fight alongside them? Why are humans only able to make a wish and get scammed in the Geno universe? These were questions he had been unable to determine answers for. The treatment of beings in both universes was vastly different. God looked at Han Senator. After a while he replied, the Geno universe did not used to have humans. Still, there should be no humans. Humans should only belong in the universe of kingdoms. What does that mean? Han Sun did not understand. The universe of kingdoms is positive, God slowly said. The Geno universe is negative. Humans, these creatures, only belong to the positive. They should not exist in the negative world. Han Sun froze when he heard that. He finally understood. Indeed, the Geno universe did not have any humans. They were able to go there because of Qin Xiu, but they were not really humans. To use a saying of the modern world, the universe of kingdoms was like the real world. It was yang. The Geno universe was yin. It was hell. How could human beings go to hell? Therefore, humans could not have and should not have existed in the Geno universe. Of course, that was just a saying. In fact, there was no saying about yin and yang. Both of them were living worlds. It was just that one was positive and the other was negative. If I were you, I would find a way to level up God powers instead of breaking the rules of the universe all the time. God patted Han Sun on the shoulder. Han Sun wanted to say something. When he turned around, God was gone. Han Sun had sensed that God had been busy lately. The last 2 times he saw him, he had arrived almost as quickly as he left. It seemed as if he was squeezing in chats in between other important tasks that demanded his attention. It looks like the God Chaos Party is really giving him a headache. Han Sun felt bad for him. He shook his head in dismay. He had a headache too. Rocky D was still alive. In the God Chaos Party, there were sure to be scary existences that rivaled or even surpassed him. He was now an enemy of the God Chaos Party. Han Sun suspected his life was going to get a whole lot more miserable. No matter what, I am going to find 8 sub-gods. I need more people backing me up. God was right. I cannot keep breaking the rules for every fight. Even if the universe can endure it, I myself never can. Han Sen's heart jumped when he thought about that. He thought about the god spirits in the Sea of Soul. He did not care about other god spirits. Inside his Sea of Soul was an annihilation class moment god. I don't know if I can summon my god spirit to be a sub-god god spirit. It will be great if I can. That is one of the 12 main gods. It should be able to be a sub-god in my temple. It is a shame there are no free god bases, and I cannot test it. After Han Sun thought about it, he felt a headache come on. If he wanted a god base, he required more members. Members brought back powers to assemble more god bases. Han Sun only had 1 member in his God of Wealth temple. It was the little bald baby who looked like burning lamp. The only problem he had was that he was a bit too small. If he ever wanted him to be useful, he might have to wait many years. No. I will have to get a few members that can give me things immediately. Han Sun thought about Feng Yining again. Yining has great potential. Even if she doesn't, I can make her stronger. I will recruit her at the God of Wealth temple first. After thinking about it, he departed the God of Wealth temple. He went straight to the Feng family's castle. Sanmu, are you okay? When Feng Yining saw Han Sun return, she worriedly looked at him. She and Bauer had seen Han Sun be burned by a black flame. She was worried, so she stayed in the garden waiting for him to return. I am fine. Han Sun seized this opportunity to ask, by the way, Yining, what god spirit blood pulse do you have? I don't have a god spirit blood pulse, Feng Yining said. My auntie says she will find me the best of the best Sonic class god spirit blood pulse, but she hasn't had much luck. Therefore, I do not have a god spirit blood pulse. I only have a blood pulse from a land pulse. She looked at Han Sun with curiosity and asked, why are you asking me that? I know of a god temple, Han Sun said. The god spirit there is very good. If you are willing to, I can help you inherit the god spirit's blood pulse. Sure. What kind of god spirit is it? Feng Yin trusted Han San, so she agreed. She still wanted to know what kind of god spirit it was. It's god of wealth. Han San gave her the title. Feng Yin did not say anything. Feng Feifei rushed over shouting, "No! Absolutely not. Yin is very talented in music. She cannot go with god of wealth. Her god spirit blood pulse must be sonic class." You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.